All right, everyone, I think we're going to get started. Like I said, my name is Amy Dow. I'm the admissions counselor here at South Shore. Thank you for your interest in our amazing school. I'm joined today by a variety of faculty members from special ed directors to superintendents to vocational staff. So you're going to have an opportunity to meet them as the morning progresses. I'd first like to introduce my co-host, Katie Berry. Miss Berry is our Director of Special Education.
Morning.
So basically, Miss Berry and I have roles of host and co-host today. I'm going to kind of be your moderator and walk you through what's going to happen. Miss Berry is going to monitor the chat. You are able to communicate with us via the Q&A on your screen. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A button. If you have a question for myself regarding admissions, if you have a question for any of the instructors, use that Q&A and we will do our best to answer that question and kick it over to the appropriate person. All right, so I'm going to spend a few minutes. I'm going to share my screen with you here. All right, and I just kind of want to go over the agenda today, what to expect. We are recording this session, so if you have to step out or you miss a portion of it, we can send you this recording, or we're going to also post it on our website. Okay. So here's today's agenda. We're doing introductions right now. We're going to ask the vocational teachers each to speak for 5 minutes about their program. Each teacher is going to speak for 2 minutes about Exploratory, so that's the freshman experience. If you go through Exploratory in that shop, what does that look like? 2 minutes on if you land in that shop, what will your 3.5 years in that shop look like? And then just a minute or so about options after high school, so post-secondary education or career. So the order, as you can see on your screen, is the construction cluster is going to go first, followed by the technology cluster, and then the service cluster. At 12:15, we're going to open it up to general Q&A. We're going to have 2 academic teachers on here at 12:15. We're also going to have a member of our Parents Association on here if you want to ask her any questions about what it's like to be a parent or her child's experience or her experience at our school. Okay, so that's what we're looking at today. How do you ask a question? This is really important because during normal circumstances, we have hundreds of families in and they ask thousands of questions to our vocational teachers, and we don't want to take that away from you. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A button. If you click on that button, you type a question. Only the host and co-host will be able to see that question, myself and Miss Berry. If you have a question for a specific shop, feel free to type the question with the shop's name in it. So if you want to ask a question specifically to culinary, put culinary before, or electrical, or graphics, okay? That way Miss Berry will know what shop you are asking that question of, okay? All right, what we're going to do is I'm going to kick it over to Mr. Mariani, who is a carpentry instructor here. He's going to speak for 5 minutes about his shop. When he's done, he's going to kick it back to me. So, Mr. Mariani, show is all yours.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Derek Mariani. I'm one of the 3 carpentry instructors here at South Shore, and I'd like to give you a brief overview of the shop. The carpentry program here at South Shore focuses on residential carpentry and basic millwork machinery and practices. Students are taught how to use portable power tools, stationary machinery properly and safely. These tools and machinery range from all tools and equipment associated with home building, such as circular saws, miter box, pneumatic nailers, right up to the large millwork machines, such as planers, joiners, stationary table saws, and shapers, along with the many functions and procedures associated with each. In their first year, during the exploratory experience, students are instructed on how to use some of the shop's basic smaller tools to construct a small project, which they will then bring home. This is designed to give them a good idea of what the shop is about, while giving them a hands-on experience using the tools and machines. Students that choose carpentry will then build a series of projects. These projects are chosen not only because they relate to the field, but because of the new machines and milling procedures that the students will then be introduced to. Each project adding something new, but reaffirming previous lessons. In these slides, you will see a young lady in Exploratory building a crate-style storage box. On the right is a sophomore learning half-lap joinery building a shadow box. And in the lower left is a senior installing a suspended ceiling on a job site, which actually was here on campus. Next slide, please. During their sophomore year, the projects continue to increase in difficulty while adding new machines and milling procedures. Once into the middle of the year, they will be introduced to some of the residential framing aspects of the trade. Students will construct sheds, which will start to address house framing, preparing them for the outside crew in their junior and senior years. In the finish booths, they'll learn sheetrocking, taping, basic finish work will be performed in these booths. In the photo on the top left, you see a student operating a stationary table saw. Just as one of the many shop tools, they will learn how to operate safely and properly. The bottom left is a student learning lamination, making a cutting board using cherry, birch, and walnut strips. All grades will have class time learning in various aspects, terminology, and practices of the trade shown in the photo on the right. Our shop has many young ladies graduate from our program and continue in the trades. We've had several students, including young ladies, into the Carpenters Union and become very successful. The program has had many graduates start their own successful companies over the years. Maybe you've hired one of them to work on your home. Next slide, please. As juniors and seniors, students will participate on off-campus projects. In past years, the students have built new homes, various house additions, including the Situate Maritime Center and the Hanover Bandstand, just to name a few. Upperclassmen are also given the opportunity to remain in the shop and continue with more advanced cabinetry or casework if they so choose. In this slide, you see the juniors and seniors working on all aspects of live construction projects. As you see in the top left photo, the students are taught all phases of wood framing construction from the foundation up. They learn all layout and assembly procedures for floors, walls, windows and doors, right up to framing the roofs. This was the maintenance building on the school grounds we did a few years ago. As you can see, the students are instructed on correct ladder use, all type of staging, including pump jacks, pipe staging, with railing and safety net systems. In the photo on the right, students are instructed on roofing using OSHA required fall protection equipment. Students learn how to apply all exterior finishes from trim to siding. In the lower left photo, students applied PVC trim at the Hanover Bandstand that they constructed at the Sylvester Field. If you would like a rewarding career in carpentry or cabinet making, South Shore would be an excellent place to start your career move. We have so many builders and companies contacting the school weekly looking to employ our graduates. We look forward to seeing you here in September. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mariani. As I'm looking through the pictures, it's nice seeing current students. I saw some current freshmen, but it's important to note that some of these pictures were taken pre-COVID, which is why the students aren't wearing masks. I assure you that our school is taking all safety measures this year to ensure the safety of our staff and our students. Okay, if you have a question specific to carpentry, like I said in the beginning, feel free to type carpentry and put a question right down in the Q&A. After Mr. Hoadley from Metal Fabrication speaks, we're going to open it up for general construction questions. Okay, all right, at this time, I'm going to kick it over to Mr. Carl, who is one of our electrical instructors. Mr. Carl, floor is yours.
Good morning. I'm glad that you're spending a few hours with us on Saturday morning, and unfortunately we can't be in the shop, but I want to just kind of go through what our program does and what we intend to achieve if your student decides they want to come to the electrical department. So the kids come into our program, 9th grade, Exploratory. We basically, because our trade is not very safe, working with electricity takes a lot of safety training. So we put our kids through some safety programs. We work on lower voltage projects so that the kids don't so that nobody gets hurt. We don't want our kids to get hurt going through the program. we put them through the paces. We want to, most of the tools that we will use in that freshman year will be hand tools. We don't use very many power tools in our shop. They're usually restricted to the upperclassmen or outside or around school projects. So the kids work through, we develop their hand skills, we develop their abilities to use different hand tools. And we try to instill in them how important it is that our job as electricians, and we're training these kids to be apprentice electricians, they will get hours towards a licensure process. So we are a clear path to journeyman electrician's license. When a kid gets through our program, they're going to be a first year apprentice. Here we have a picture here of one of the, it looks like this was a job, this was the maintenance shop that we saw in the Carpentry, the brand new building when they were building that. It looks like the front office. So Mr. Hohenleitner takes care of outside crew, teaches kids blueprinting, wiring methods. You know, there are 48 different wiring methods. We try to go through probably 20 different wiring methods while a kid is in our program. We get plenty of experience between inside and outside work. Mr. Condon will show the kids how to bend pipe and how to thread pipe and all the different boxes, fittings that they have to go through as they progress through the programs. Some residential wiring, some commercial wiring, some industrial wiring. Here's actually a great picture of the shop and kids who are right now, they're juniors. This was when they were sophomores with Mr. Condon. The picture in the background's got the shop. We got 2 decks. Kids get up in their booths and right now they're kind of divided off to keep the kids safe. But generally they get to move around through the shop, get materials, work through the program. We teach them about theory. Kids learn a lot of math when they come to the related side of the program, and the related will actually give them hours towards that journeyman's license that they'll need. 600 hours, kids generally get between 200 and 150 hours towards that license. So they get a good start going through our program on their way to becoming journeyman electricians. And as Derek said, we have a number of kids now that have their own businesses, have progressed through the licensure. Some of them have gone on to become masters. We're a proud program. I won't say it, I'll get a few people upset. The best program in the school, I think. And we give you a clear path. We have a number of women that have gone through our program now out in the unions. So we I think we have 5 young ladies in our sophomore class right now. I think that's the biggest number we've had in a while. So we are a shop where a young lady or a young man can develop their skills and become a licensed electrician. I guess that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. From here on out, you kind of threw the gauntlet down. From here on out, you'll hear every shop teacher tell all you little 8th graders out there that they are the best shop.
You always have to say that, right?
You do, Mr. Carroll. You're absolutely right. I'm actually surprised Mr. Mariani didn't say it. So every shop teacher thinks they are the best shop. What is the best shop in the building? Well, what's the best shop for your child is the best shop in the building. We have a dozen shops. You'll hear from all of them today. You just heard from 2 great programs. And I'm excited to introduce our next program, which is Mr. Hart. Mr. Hart is the department head of our horticulture program, which is our latest and greatest shop. So Mr. Hart, please feel free to take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Mr. Hart here, one of 2 instructors for the Horticulture Landscape Construction Program. We also have an instructional aide that's on staff with us. Us combined, we probably have over, let's say, 30 years experience, I would say. We have backgrounds in landscape construction, sports turf management, greenhouse management, floral design. So we have a very good mix of different careers for you guys. The biggest thing I want to say to you guys is that we are not just a lawn mowing shop. You will see a lot of our students out there on pieces of equipment, maintaining our school grounds, but that is not what we just do. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There are plenty of career avenues you guys can go down. When you leave here, you won't be just mowing lawns. You could get into landscape construction, landscape design, architecture, greenhouse management. That is just to name a few. Right now on the slide that you see on your screen, I'm just going to kind of go over a little bit of what our exploratory looks like for you guys. Really, you're going to touch on many different careers when you come through exploratory. So that top left image you see there, that's our floral cooler. You guys will be doing a basic floral design with one of our instructors, Mrs. Johnson. Very good floral designer. She's done weddings, she's done events. That is a career that you guys can go down as a floral designer. If you leave here, we have some companies on our advisory board that do floral arrangements, events, weddings, so forth. The bottom left image you see there is something sort of my background. I come from a landscape construction background. You guys will be operating various heavy pieces of equipment. So that is our skid steer down there. You see one of our upperclassmen working with the freshmen. You guys will be learning how to pick up pallets. I think in that bucket right there, it's filled with water. So you kind of have to go through a little obstacle course. Make sure you don't spill any water on the way. We have a little fun with it. That middle image right there, you can see our students are learning how to do pavement patterns, okay? So essentially pavement patterns, we're talking about patios, walkways. You guys will be learning basic paver patterns, brick paver patterns, running bond, herringbone, basket weave, just really small projects for now, as far as we can touch as much as we can for exploratory. The right image you see there, you see our upperclassmen. They're climbing in our classroom. So that side of our shop is arboriculture. It's the study of trees. It's the maintenance of trees. So our upperclassmen are showing our exploratory students in there how to climb. You guys learn how to do different types of arbor knots, your midline clove, your figure 8 knot, your Blake's hitch. And you guys are going to learn how to climb during exploratory. You actually get in a saddle and you climb indoors. Next slide, please. Really, when you come into our program, guys, you're going to touch on a lot of the same things that you did in exploratory, but it's way more advanced. So as you can see, this top image up here on the left is our mini excavator. You're going to actually learn to get in that machine. You're going to learn how to dig trenches. You're going to learn how to dig holes for trees, move earth, move boulders, site grade, go out there and grade out a landscaped area, okay? You can see one of our freshmen in there actually trying to take up a piece of wood on that cone. We have to drop it in the trash barrel that's behind him. The bottom left image, we have a 30 by 60 heated greenhouse. So during the winter, you guys are gonna learn how to seed, you're gonna learn how to propagate plants. We have spring plant sales. We haven't had one yet. Of course, COVID kind of messed things up, but we're planning to have a spring plant sale. You guys will be able to sell hanging baskets, annuals, perennials. The top middle image, you see we have a Christmas tree sale every year. Obviously this year, we won't be having as big of a Christmas tree sale. We'll be doing something a little smaller, but our students get a chance to go out during their shop period and sell wreaths, Christmas trees, all the stuff that we decorate in shop. The bottom middle image, we do go to Fenway Park every year. You guys get a chance to meet the head groundskeeper. He wants some of our students to go and work for them someday when they turn 18. So it's a great opportunity for you guys to go out in the field. You meet him, you get to ask him questions. It's a really awesome day. You get to maybe wear a World Series ring. So that's pretty cool. The top right image, that is our FFA competition. Our schools is a very very heavy Skills USA group. But we are Future Farmers of America. We go to our competition every year out in Western Mass. You guys compete against other agricultural schools, whether that is Norfolk Aggie, Bristol Aggie, so forth. You get to compete in plant ID competitions, landscape design competitions, floral competitions. As you can see, one of our upperclassmen won 3rd place their first year, so that was really awesome. And then the bottom right image is just some irrigation work. What we'll do in the winter is you guys will learn how to wire an irrigation clock. So all of our school grounds have irrigation. Well, most of our school grounds have irrigation. Our football field, our baseball field, you guys have to learn how to turn that on, run that, wire it up, so forth. Slide, please. And really, guys, for the careers, going down into the career and college for you guys, we don't push college on you, but there are opportunities. Us three instructors that are in our program went to the Stockbridge School of Agriculture out at UMass Amherst. If you guys really want to further your career, you can go out there. You can learn a lot more about soil science, botany, plant health care. We do touch on those topics in school as well during related class. But if you guys really want to further your education, maybe become a teacher someday, that is a great opportunity for you guys. We currently have over 35 companies on our advisory board on the South Shore. So 35 companies ranging from the Cape and the Islands to Boston. Okay, they're all looking for young, hardworking students like you guys to come into our career, and basically, yeah, come into our career and learn and get involved. And they're looking for young kids to come in. As you can see in the top left image, that's one of our designs that our students just did in the past 2 years. So our upperclassmen now designed that bed, they installed it. Okay, we're going to be doing a landscape lighting project out there eventually. Another career you can go into is floral design. Okay, you can see that that's a different design that our students made with Miss Johnson. Our top right image here, we have our underclassmen just learning how to do paving pattern. Okay, they actually got a little more in depth. They built a retaining wall in the back there that they're sitting on. Okay, and you can see the middle image down below is our football field. You guys will actually learn how to do some different logos, spray out some lines. Okay, you'll be learning how to cut that grass. You'll be mowing it before a game. You'll be mowing the baseball field before a game, lining the baseball field before a game. And in the bottom right image, as you can see, we transferred from being indoors to outdoors. You guys will learn how to climb an actual tree in the woods out back. So it's really tough, guys, for me to explain this to you in front of a screen, and it's easier, obviously, if you guys are in the building where you can see all of our equipment, you can see some of the products that we do. I just hope that you guys decide to come in here in 2021 and come through our program and see what we're all about.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hart. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think one of the spectacular things about our school is that we do exploratory, and I'm going to kick it over to Mr. Mulkern in 1 second, but I just want to, a lot of our teachers are talking about exploratory. I just want to make sure that the 8th graders listening know what exploratory is. That is probably the best thing we do for you freshman year. That is when you come into our school, you get to pick 5 shops that you want to try. All right. I, as the freshman guidance counselor, will pick 2 shops for you. And what you do is you spend a week in academics, so English, math, science, social studies. And then the next week you are in 1 shop for the whole week. So maybe you're in horticulture, trying horticulture for the whole week. Back to academics. Next week, maybe you're in culinary, back to academics. So you try 7 of our 12 shops. At the end of the exploratory cycle, we say to you, all right, here are the 7 shops you tried. What shops are your favorite? And you rank your top 3. Based on your exploratory score, just like there's an admission score, you need to do certain things to get into our school. You need to do certain things to get into the shop you want, okay? What does that entail? We can talk about that later in detail. But I think one of the great things is sometimes you try a shop and you explore a shop and you know nothing about that shop and you end up falling in love with it. So Mr. Hart, awesome presentation. Thank you so very much. I am going to kick it over now to Mr. Mulkern, who is our, sorry, my phone's ringing. I'm so popular. Mr. Mulkern is our HVAC instructor. All right, it's all yours.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm so glad you could join us today. Obviously, as everybody said, we wish you were here in the school with us, but we'll do our best to convey the same message, only a little differently, like everything that's happened this year. If we look at this slide on the top left-hand corner, you're going to see some exploratory projects that you would take part in. Although at first glance they seem very simple, they entail all the basic skills that you will use as an HVAC technician in the trade. Measuring, bending, soldering, all those things, the accuracy are very important in the trade. You can see that in the picture below on the left-hand side, that's a toolbox that is dedicated just for our exploratory students. And it teaches you all those basic tools. So it really gives you a good sense of what the trade is like, because it's difficult unless you really do it. And I think that's the thing that's different about our school is we talk about things and then we actually do them. And there's nothing like having the experience of creating something that you wouldn't have normally been able to do. And we have 3 great instructors with probably, oh goodness, I can't even tell you, 90 years of experience between the 3 of us. We've also recently added a new instructor who touches on basic plumbing, which is also another avenue that's part of our trade. We do heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration. On the picture on the left, you can see one of our students is working on a residential air conditioning unit. And that's really a big market for us, especially in this area. There's just such a need where 35% of the trade is 50 or over. There's so many openings for students who want to take this as a career. And we find that every student who wants a job right now can have one through our co-op program. And we find that it's not just the students come here, but they stay with us throughout the years through alumni associations, joining our advisory board. So I think we really have something different at this school. Naturally, you're going to get the academic education like you would in an ordinary high school, but there's something different because we allow students to do something they like, in addition to things that they are required to do. And I think that's what makes us unique and makes us able to have such interest in this trade, in all the trades. But our trade in particular is, the job openings are hard to fathom right now. Anyone who wants a job can have a job. And, you know, we don't just teach you the basic skills. You actually leave here with certifications. One of our big certifications is the EPA 608A certification. That allows you to handle, recover, and buy refrigerant. And this is not just a meaningless certification. This actually allows you to do something immediately when you graduate from the school. You're licensed to do something. And that's big. And not only that, but as your student is here, if you were to stay in our department as a permanent student, you'd be accumulating hours towards your refrigeration license. So we actually are sanctioned by the Department of Public Safety as a training facility, so that the hours you're spending in the classroom are being applied toward your license, along with the hours that are happening in the shop. So when a student graduates here for a refrigeration license, they only need 1 year of experience to actually gain a state license in refrigeration. And that is probably the shortest pathway to have an actual state license. In addition to that, we also touch on other elements of the trade, such as heating. We also have another certification called the NORA, or the National Oil Research Alliance bronze certification. This is also an organization that sanctions us as a school, that we are a training facility that they approve of. And this gives them another certification that students have had basic training in the oil heat industry. Again, this is another short pathway to a license. And with licenses, you can command more money. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do here. We're trying to teach people a trade, trying to give them the ability to actually take care of themselves as an adult when they leave here. And we find that, you know, we have great relationships with our students that continue throughout the years, whether it's talking to a former student on the phone, talking about a service problem they may have years later, or just seeing them basically at the supply house. Every time I go to the supply house, I see one of my students there. And it's really great to know that we're doing something useful, that these people that have graduated from here are now successful. I have one student, 21 years old, bought his own house. It's incredible what happens here. There's a change that happens here, and it's a good change. And I can say it as a teacher, and I can say it as a parent, as my son is a graduate student of the school. So I cannot tell you enough about the school and how much I'm invested in it, how much will be invested in your students. And I just hope that you give us a chance, come to the school, try out our shops, and no matter which shop you land in, of course, mine's the best, but you are going to find a great place, because all of these teachers here at this school are dedicated to the students, and we make sure that every student here gets what they need. Thank you, Ms. Dell.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mulkern. It's, it's a really, really good point that you made about students when they graduate. When your student lands in a shop, or for all you 8th graders listening, when you land in a shop, you'll be with the same instructors and the same kids for literally 6.5 hours a day, for 3.5 years, every other week, week on, week off. That's thousands of hours that you spend with the same kids and the same instructor. And it's amazing, the relationships you develop. And Mr. Mulkern still sees and works with a lot of his students that have graduated in the last 10, 15 years since he's been here. It's amazing. We run an alumni day every year where we reach out to alumni who have graduated, and we ask them to come back and speak to our seniors to talk about life after high school. And Mr. Mulkern or any of our instructors literally pick up the phone and invite one kid from the class of 2014 in, and 6 of them show up because they're still working together and they still feel that need to pay back the school that really did so much for them. Okay, so always a pleasure hearing from you, Mr. Mulkern. Thank you so much. I'm going to kick it over to Mr. Hoadley, who is a metal fabrication instructor. All right, Mr. Hoadley, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the open house. Too bad we're not in the building, so you guys can see our wonderful shops that we have at the school. So a little bit about me. I actually graduated from South Shore not too long ago. It's the best school ever. I can't say enough good things about it. Just everybody from the staff to the students and everybody. It's a great school to go to. A little bit about the Metal Fab program. I'm one of 3 teachers in there. I'm actually the instructional aide in there. We have Mr. Lewis and Mr. Young, 2 amazing teachers, know a lot about what they're talking about. And we teach you all the basics of welding and metal fabrication, as well as getting you some certifications before you leave. A little bit about our Exploratory program. In Exploratory, we teach you just the basic skills of welding. You do a lot with gas metal arc welding and oxyacetylene welding, cutting, and hopefully some CNC plasma cutting. Once COVID's over, we can get back to the normal line. You walk out of there with 2 to 3 projects. When you come in for Exploratory, we do innovative projects that work with their hands and hand tools and basic welding skills, so you guys can get the full feel of what we do in the shop, the fire and everything else. I know myself and most people I talk to, there's a little pyro in everybody. Everybody loves burning stuff and stuff like that. So we have a lot of fun with fire and all sorts of stuff. As you work down, we touch upon 4 major welding: gas metal arc welded, shielding metal arc welding, TIG welding, and flux core arc welding, which are great examples to have, as well as hopefully we'll get you your D11 and D15 structural certifications before you leave, which is really tough to achieve, but it also sets you up for a great success. You walk into the Union Hall right now with a D1 and D15 certification for ironworking, and you're making upwards of $50 an hour rate coming out of high school as an 18-year-old student. It's a great program. We teach you and get you ready for all your skills. We have 99% of our seniors on co-op, which speaks volumes as to what the trade needs and what's out there for job opportunities for these kids. People calling every day looking for students to come and work for them. We cannot get enough kids out of the door when co-op becomes available to them. Over here in the pictures, we have one of the teachers working with a student working over blueprint drawings and understanding fabrication work. Down in the bottom left, we have 2 students who actually creatively designed a minion grill, which you see there. So that's, you put the charcoal in the tongue, you open the top of this little head, and you can have some burgers and dogs. Another example of some student fabricating and grinding his welds down and finishing correctly and making sure all precautions are met on the fabrication side. So not only do we just do the welding and stick you in a booth and weld, you create projects out there in the field. We have done several projects throughout the community and at the school. The greenhouse that Mr. Hart talked about for horticulture, the metal fab department designed and built that greenhouse, and we put it up and everything. It was a very good project for us. We have many ladies in the shop, as you can see on the photos now, which is it's something you don't see every day, lady welders and stuff like that. But man, there's a killing for it, and all men in welding will tell you that ladies make better welders than men because they're more attention to detail. So it's hard to swallow sometimes for us men, but they are better than us. So we have a lot of fun at the shop, a lot of job opportunities, a lot of money to be made out there. Such a family coming into the shop. You create such a bond as students. I know I still talk to all my friends from when I was in the shop, and we're still such a close family to this day. I can't say enough good things about it. So without further ado, I'll take back Ms. Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Hoadley. Thank you. And listen, I know what amazing teachers I work with. I work with them every day, but listening to you talk, not only Mr. Hoadley, but Mr. Mariani, Mr. Carl, Mr. Hart, Mr. Mulkern, Mr. Hoadley, about the passion that you have for your shops and your students. I don't know, it's great. I absolutely love it. So thank you so much. We're going to try to stick to our schedule. The technology cluster is slated to start at 10:45. Right now it's 10:40, so we only have 5 minutes for questions. So Ms. Berry, I know you've been monitoring the chat. What do you got from the parents and students?
Yes, thanks, Ms. Dow. So our first question is for Mr. Hart. And the question is, what license do you get with the landscape and horticulture program?
So when you guys turn 18, if you saw those images of our students operating the heavy equipment, the skid steer, the mini excavator, you guys, what we do is we prepare you as juniors in one of our related classes. We call it our 2A excavator exam prep. You guys will go through our related class, a study for the hydraulics license. And when you turn 18, we're going to try to get you guys out to a testing site, and you guys will be able to take that test to get your hydraulics license to operate any front end loaders, large scale excavators, skid steers. It's a great license to have, especially if you go down into a landscape construction avenue or an excavation avenue. You guys need that license to operate that machine. It's a great opportunity that we give you guys to be able to potentially get that when you graduate.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. The next question is for Ms. Dow, our admissions counselor. And the question is, do you teach business to your students?
Do we teach business? I love these questions. So the answer is yes. So it comes in a variety of ways. So each shop has what we call a related class. So that's the more academic part of the shop. So for example, in culinary, I'll use culinary as an example. Before we just hand you a knife, we teach you how to use it, the safety of it, okay? And that is we do blanket safety throughout every shop. So we do related. A lot of the related teachers within their more academic program do an entrepreneurship aspect. We also, as seniors, you take either a financial literacy course or a consumer math class. You take consumer math class for one period if you're taking an alternative math class like pre-calculus. If you are not taking pre-calculus, then you take an entire block, which would be 2 periods of financial literacy. And basically in that class, they teach you how to write a business manual, how to operate a business. Oh, I have 3 employers. They need health insurance. What does that mean? Oh, I have to pay my electric bill. Oh, I need a space to operate trucks. So all of that, how do I own a business aspect will come mostly to upperclassmen, junior, senior year sprinkled in. It depends on what shop you landed, how you are delivered that curriculum, but you will get that as a student here.
Thank you, Ms. Dow.
Of course.
There's another question about if you can change shops in a given year. And I think that will go to Ms. Dow as well, our admissions counselor.
Of course. So do students change shops? Yes. Is it an easy process? No. So what happens is after exploratory, we place kids in shop based on request and based on need. If a student chooses a shop and is placed in a shop that inevitably, for whatever reason, after weeks go by, they're not necessarily happy with. Can they move shops? They can put in a request to move, and we will grant them that request if there is room in the shop that they want. Okay, so there's that. The other question that someone is going to ask, and someone always asks me, and I guess I will just answer it, is what happens if my student comes to your school and wants a specific shop, and after exploratory doesn't get that shop for whatever reason? Okay, does that happen? Absolutely. Why does that happen? That happens because students who have higher exploratory grades fill that shop before we get down to your student. How do you guarantee your student gets into the shop they want? Have them come to school, have them be a well-behaved, spectacular student, and have them really try in all the shops they want. They get to pick 5 shops. As the freshman guidance counselor, I pick the other 2 shops for them. Well, one of those shops, or maybe both of those shops, might not be shops that they're really interested in. It doesn't matter. They still have to really try in those shops, because the grade, the overall exploratory grade, is the total combined score of all 7 shops. Okay.
Okay, great. That's it for questions. I think it's time to move on to the technology cluster. Thanks, everybody.
Perfect. All right, technology cluster. Our technology cluster consists of 3 shops. We are going to hear from computer information technology first, followed by graphic design, and then our MET shop, which is manufacturing, engineering, technology. I gave a little bit of extra time to our graphics and MET shops, simply because there's kind of 2 components to those shops. After that, we will move on to any more questions that you have. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Zavatsky, who is one of the instructors in CIT.
Thank you, Ms. Dow. Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm glad you're spending your Saturday with us. I'm one of the 2 teachers in our program. I've been working for 11 years. Ms. Scott, the other teacher, is working for 13. Combined, we have been working in the information technology field for over 50 years worth of items we've done. Personally, I've run a business for over 20 years, and I teach at the various colleges for technology as well. Mr. Scott had worked in various companies such as Microsoft, Equiserve, Philips. So we really provide a diverse background to show different aspects of the information technology area. And in our shop, one of the things is that it constantly changes, because the IT field constantly changes. And so we try to reflect that as we go over the years. So during our exploratory period, we do some fun projects. They will go ahead, start with learn about safety. The first thing we have to do for every shop. We talk about how areas you're going to work in, so how do you be safe there, as well as online safety, because we are working online and doing things for customers and even for ourselves. So the first day, we're going to learn about parts of the computer. And that leads us to one of the probably the favorite thing for most kids is building their own computer. As well as next year, we'll be starting with building a laptop as well. So we give them a lot of hands-on opportunities with that. We follow up that with making our own websites, and we use HTMLs because we want to introduce some programming concepts to our students. Another project we work on is building your own Ethernet cable. Now, I know everything is wireless now, but for most companies, we need to have wired connectivity, and we sort of teach the kids how to do that. And finally, one of the other major projects we do is we actually make apps. We use the online system called App Inventor, and that's a platform we use as well for our related class in junior year. We actually offer an AP Computer Science Principle course that I teach, and we use that as one of our platforms. During the 3.5 years you were with us, your freshman year sort of build on what you started learning in Exploratory, which is we learn about the operating system, specifically Windows 10. Because in our field, we need to be able to support that for our customers. We also work on computer hardware, so they will learn everything about every part of the computer, every part on the motherboard, as well as dealing with laptops. From there, we go our sophomore year, we do networking and security. And cybersecurity is one of those most popular areas that our students can go in, and if you're looking for post-secondary or the workforce. Our junior year, we start working with Linux That's a newer operating system. Well, that's very popular in regards to doing web servers and administrative work. And finally, in our senior, they do Microsoft's Windows Server 2019 now. So we have lots of opportunities for them to learn, and our goals are to be either a desktop support person or a network admin. Over the 4 years, you do have the opportunity of getting numerous certifications. We do get people to have Microsoft operating system, network security, and server administrator certifications. That really helps you when you're going into the field. We're also starting this year a collaboration with Massasoit Community College, where we're offering additional networking courses. And these courses will allow them to get a network certificate from Massasoit. And in fact, if they did decide to go there, it goes towards a degree. We also have the ability with our course, we do send kids on co-op, and we've been very successful over the last few years. In fact, last year, our shop was rated first in the state among IT programs. They had the percentage of students out in the field, and we continued that this year. For our students in the past, what's been happening is they're working at companies like Twitter, Konami, Amazon, just to name a few. The IT field is one of the largest growing industries in the world. There are far more jobs than we can fill than IT workers. Average pay, even for entry level, ranges from, like, I will say, about $40,000 to $60,000 just to start without college even. Majority of our students do go to colleges, either 2 or 4 years. Over the past few years, we sent them to Wentworth, New England Tech, Champlain College, UMass, UMaine, countless others. So this field really, the program puts countless hours into constantly updating our program to make your child have the best education possible. This field never stops growing, and everyone, if they really put their mind to it, can succeed in it. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I want to thank you for your time, Ms. Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Sabatsky. So much, so much. I will note that Mr. Mulkern talked about his son, and Mr. Mulkern is not only a teacher here, he's a student here. And Brandon Mulkern, who I adored as a student, went totally against the grain of his dad and landed in CIT and is very successful. Now working for Amazon, right, Mr. Mulkern, or Twitter? What's Brandon?
He's at Signet now again. He just went back to a local company. Yeah.
He's all over the place. He's a great, great kid. He is. Yeah, great kid. We have a lot of those floating around here. All right, so with no further ado, I am going to kick it over to, messing up my screen here, to Mrs. Rakowski, who is one of our instructors in our graphic design program. Ms. R, take it away.
Thank you, Ms. Dow. And I should say, Mr. Spassky, what program is your daughter in? Graphics.
Yes, it is. But at another school.
Right, another school. Thank you guys all so much for joining us on a Saturday. It's such a different kind of open house than what we're used to. We love seeing all these families come in and getting to talk to you directly. And we missed doing that this year, but thank you for joining us virtually, and hopefully you'll get some good information out of today. So as Ms. Dow said, Mrs. Rakowski, and known as Ms. R, our shop is graphic communications and design and visual communications. And it's important to point those out because we are actually 2 Chapter 74 programs in one. So if you say you pick graphics, you are actually getting 2 Chapter 74 programs squished into those 4 years. And then also on the academic side, so you get quite an education here at South Shore Tech in the graphic communications and design field. Our industry is really fast paced. The differences between graphic communications and design and visual communications is graphic communications has a focus on printing and screen printing and garment and embroidery, digital printing, wide format printing, while the other side of the house is the more creative side of the house where you are creating and initiating those designs. And I'll talk about those in just a little bit. But in our shop, we have 3 amazing teachers. Mr. Culp is the shop teacher. He's certified in graphic communications. He works the machinery with the kids. So here we have a student working on our embroidery machine and then a sample of screen printing that happens in our shop. Mr. Culp is an amazing teacher. He is also our yearbook advisor. So students have the opportunity for some after school clubs, and yearbook is one of those things that students can can join. Just an interesting little statistic about the field of print and graphic communications, because sometimes people think, oh, well, print has changed so much, and it has. There are almost 400,000 people employed in the printing industry in the United States, and that population of employees is ever aging, meaning they need new young folks to come into the field. Another statistic about that is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. There has been a steady and inclining wage increase in that field, so that's good to know. Another teacher we have in our shop is Mrs. Paradise, and she is the thinker. We call her the thinker of the group. She is the one who works with students in developing creative briefs, talking about design principles and design elements. She does a lot of the sketching and fine art work that goes into the pre-software, goes into the planning part. And she also runs the art club that happens in traditional years after school, where students from any shop can come down and participate in some fine art activities. So that's really fun. And then my role in the shop is I am mainly the software instructor. So I have a state-of-the-art Mac lab. As you can see in the top left corner, there's just a little sample of some students working. And there are many, many programs that we work in, but the top guys are the Adobe Creative Suite, and that would include Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Premiere Pro, which is video. We also do digital photography. We do social media and marketing and presentation design. The list goes on and on. Our field is really complex. Just another interesting statistic on that, according to CareerArc, employers believe that social media marketing will be the most in-demand HR skill this year. So sometimes we think, you know, kids, get off your phone because they're on Instagram and they're on Facebook, but these are actual career paths that our students can take. Who are our students? Our students are creative. Our students are hands-on. They are computer-based. We are a shop that, yes, we work on beautiful computers in a digital lab, but we also get really inky and dirty on the screen press. So we get the full gamut here in our shop. Our exploratory program in traditional years, it's a 5-day long exploratory program, and our students would be in a station for the day, and those stations would represent just a few of the areas within our fields. Again, traditionally we would do a photography station where students would learn on Nikon D3400 SLR cameras. They would work with lighting. They would bring their photos into Photoshop and manipulate them. We would do promotional materials. So the students would work on a variety of things, including logo design, water bottle, screen printing. We have a social media station and screen printing and embroidery. So students in traditional years, again, would print their shirts and also do some embroidery on baseball caps. This year, our exploratory, of course, looks a little bit different. It's a 2.5-day cycle. So the station rotations have been slimmed down, but our students are still making screen printing t-shirts, which is really fun. They get to work on Photoshop and InDesign and create and design a calendar and print that. So they still get around on quite a few pieces of equipment in our shop. Over 4 years, our students work on the computer and work on the equipment. Some products that they might create that would go into their portfolio are things like, again, t-shirts. So that physical work of screen press, they would design and print logos, whether that's on a button or t-shirt. We do things like illustrate and write our own original children's book. That's a really fun project that the kids love. They get into imposition and bindery and saddle stitching and trimming of paper. We do, they'll create movie posters, oversized movie posters that they'll print on our wide format press. Like I said, we do a lot of photography, videos. The kids make a fake movie trailer, which is always a really fun project to see. They come up with the idea of a fictitious movie and do what a trailer might look like for that. We do image manipulation in Photoshop, illustrations in Illustrator, branding. We do WYSIWYG websites. It's a little different than CIT. WYSIWYG means what you see is what you get. So it's a more intuitive type of web design, and they do a little bit of coding. So that's just some of the things that you'll create over the years. Some of the equipment that you'll work on in our graphics program. We have a digital press that students work on. We have digital copiers. We have the screen press. We have a gigantic cutter, which is one of my favorite pieces of equipment because that can cut a big gigantic sheet of paper and like a stack of like 1,000 sheets. It's really cool. Our students will work on bindery, GBC bindery, and padding and glue. We have a vinyl printer for decals, all the decals that everybody's seeing when you go to the supermarket on the floor, say 6 feet apart. Those are the types of materials that come off of a vinyl printer. And like I said, we have a state-of-the-art Mac lab with approximately 30 iMac desktop computers that run the Adobe Creative Suite. Our students, freshman year, after they go into the shop, our students go through their OSHA 10 general certification. And then by senior year, they have the opportunity to test for an Adobe Certified Associate test, either in InDesign, Photoshop, or Illustrator. So you walk out of here with at least 1 certification, if not up to 4, if you test in all of those programs. Our kids go to Skills USA. We've medaled in screen printing, photography, graphic design, and offset printing. Our students are really successful in that. They've won outside competitions in pin contest, safety posters, North-South River Shed t-shirt design. One of our students did a statewide safety poster contest that the design of it ended up going on the T. So that was really great to see one of our students' actual design on the trains. After graduation, our students are both career and college bound. So I would say in our shop, we're about split down the middle on average. Half of our students go straight to work and half of our students go on to a 2 or 4 year college. Some of the colleges that our kids go on to are Mass Art, UMass, Bridgewater, SNHU, Montserrat, Massasoit, Curry, Framingham, Leslie, just to name a few. Our students go from graduation, go straight to work, and they have worked in some great places at screen printers, copy centers. They've started their own design and web design business. Some of the local employers are Webster Printing and Wayfair. We have kids working, graduates working at TripAdvisor, JLS Mailhouse, Boston Ballet, Cambridge Biomarketing, Abington Printing, and more. The list goes on. Our kids are really impressive and we keep in touch with them over the years. There's so much more information that I have to share with you guys. I know I'm limited on time. If you need more information, put it in the Q&A, or you can follow us on social media at South Shore Tech Design. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Sarah, that was so great. Thank you so much. I know for the instructors, they could talk for hours and hours and hours about their shop and all the great things that they do. But when I say to them, listen, I need like anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes and you have to be on camera, they're like, So under normal circumstances, as almost every instructor said, yes, we wish we could welcome you into our building, but unfortunately, we're here. So we're glad you're joining us. It's also important to note for graphics, anything that I need for recruitment purposes, whether it is t-shirts or sweatshirts or water bottles, or the image on your screen, you see Emily Ingram, who graduated last year. That was actually the open house postcard that we sent out advertising last year's open house. So they take care of me in that aspect, and usually a very short time frame, because I'm usually like, oh, I need it tomorrow. So shout out to them for that. All right, we are going to move on to our engineering program. Mr. Gentile is one of our engineering instructors, and he mostly lives in the precision machine aspect of it. So I'm going to kick it over to him and let him explain a little bit further what MET is. Mr. Gentile?
Thank you, Ms. Dow. Welcome. I know this is a little different for us this year. It is a lot more fun having you guys all in here and seeing all the amazing equipment we have in this school. We're able to do so much in the school as a whole. We're able to do so much in the school in our shop alone. So manufacturing, engineering, technology, we span across quite a few bits of of the industry. So primarily we have the manufacturing shop, as you can see behind me here. We also have the electronics portion, which is in a whole nother lab. And we have the CAD portion of our program. Basically, no design can happen without CAD. So it all starts there. So I guess I'll start there with this whole thing. Basically, what happens in CAD is you're taking a computer and you're designing the parts or product that needs to be manufactured. From there, the prints would come down to the manufacturing floor or the engineering, the electronics tech rather. And then from there, we would proceed to build. So in this shop, we try to give the students a balance between all three of those departments. Getting them in the CAD, understanding basic CAD and start, you know, going through some electronics, understanding some basic PCB board construction and soldering and stuff like that. Get them out in the machine shop, just learning some basic manufacturing skills, and you know, coming together and combining all three of those avenues together to create a project. So, so basically, what happens is for Exploratory, student comes in, we give them some CAD experience, get them drawing with Mr. Freitas. He's our CAD specialist, I would say. We get them over to MET2, which is our electronics side of the shop. And they go through and they do all their circuit board design and their soldering and some programming on the parts that they make down there. Some of the exploratory projects they do in electronics are the insanity alarm, the TV be gone, a reaction tester, a coin detector, a whole bunch of fun little projects that they get to put together and design. They're pre-made projects, so they kind of go through and they solder on all the resistors and all the different pieces that I can't begin to explain, but I can kind of make my way through it a little bit. And then in the machine shop for Exploratory, we come in here and one of the projects we do is called the dice project. So simple aluminum die, it's 1 inch by 1 inch. It starts out as a raw piece of stock. The student will go over, they cut off a part, oversize. We go over to what's called a milling machine, and they're able to mill the part down to precision accuracy. I mean, literally, they machine that part to within a hair, and that's the tolerance that we hold in here for these guys. They go on to perform, you know, some basic radiusing on the corners so they don't have any sharp edges. They put all the dimples in on the correct locations and surfaces. One of those things you may not think of when you look at a regular old die, but there actually is a pattern that those dots all land on there. And we make sure that they understand that orthographic projection and put their everything where it belongs. So in Exploratory, they do that. They get some basic experience on some manual machines in the manufacturing shop floor. We also do another project called the Etch-a-Sketch project. And basically what the students do is take a marker on a piece of aluminum. They lay out like their initials, or if their name is fairly short, they can do that. Lay it out with a marker and a scale. And then they go over to one of the milling machines and they try to freehand follow their lines and actually produce letters. So some letters like an R, for instance, is a little tougher because you get that little angle on the bottom that kicks out. So they have to produce it kind of like an Etch-a-Sketch. So they'll come down in one axis and then jog over and down and jog over. Students have had fun, being able to get some free creative ability on the machines, and we try to express that to them. Always following our #1 rule, safety. It is equipment, but we always do our best to make sure the students understand everything they need to know before they touch any piece of equipment in the shop, because like anything, if not operated properly, can be very dangerous. So moving on, once we've selected our shop and you've come into the MET footprint, one of the projects we work on is the line following robot. So how that works is in the machine shop, we produce all the the chassis for it, the wheels, and another top plate for it. In electronics, we build all, the circuit boards, the electronics, we program it. And then we have a competition at the end where all the students get together down in the gym and we create various courses and they time test against each other and they race each other, and we ultimately come out with a victor. it's a lot of fun. We spend usually a couple days practicing and, you know, competing. Works out to be a good time. At the end of 9th grade, we choose our pathway. And from that, our pathway is you'd either, you know, spend more time in the manufacturing side or the electronics side. From there, we start going deeper into our manual skills and exposing students to all the machines and really get them comfortable understanding the principles of operating machinery and how to, you know, perform different functions with each machine, because each machine's capable of performing multiple operations. Once they get into their junior and senior years, our students get over onto the CNC machines. So we have some conversational CNC machines, which is kind of like we'd like to use it as our starter for getting our intro into CNC. The students get on those, they learn some basic conversational type programming, learn some of the different functions of the machinery, and then we're able to progress them on to some CNC equipment, which is G&M coding. It's a lot more in-depth and more complicated, but still it still uses all the same principles of their manual machining, using coordinates and all that. So on the electronic side, they progress through AC theory, DC theory. They also do some some introductory programming, also going through their years over there. CAD, we continue on with CAD into some basic computer-aided design. We also introduce CAM, which is computer-aided machining. So the students are able to design their product on a computer. Then they're able to apply and generate code on the computer to plug into our CNC equipment and be able to produce our parts. It can get all real technical, but as they go along, it gets easier and easier the more knowledge they gain from the whole situation. So moving on to some of our career opportunities. I've always said that I think manufacturing engineering technology is a great way for these students to come in. They gain a trade, whether it's in the manufacturing side or the electronic side. They can come out as a electronics tech or a machinist tech, be able to get a job on co-op, really see either industry from the ground up and really make a good determination whether they want to pursue a career in the field, just, you know, straight out of high school and working, or if they want to pursue college. And I think it's always a great opportunity for them to be able to see and really understand what they're getting into before they start college. And I feel like this trade, we're able to give them a good peek into the whole industry, whether they want to pursue mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, electronics engineering, or even just pursue CAD. We have some students out on co-op right now doing strictly CAD work, which is a great avenue. It's a cleaner part of our job sometimes. Majority of our students in the manufacturing floor go out to machine shops. We have them out in medical machine shops producing medical instrumentation and medical tools for surgery and everything else. There's also the aerospace field. There's automotive. There's all kinds of fields that a machine shop touches upon that a lot of people just don't realize how much depth and reach we have. So what we do with this program is we really like to be able to scratch the surface of all those avenues, give the students a well-rounded background, give them the best opportunity that they can have to succeed once they graduate from school and choose the right place to be for them. That being said, I'm a former graduate of the school. I think the school is a great option for me when I picked it. As it is tough to leave all your friends and peers behind in your communities that you grew up in, it is also awesome how many friends you will gain from all the different communities that surround us. It's truly awesome. I mean, I know so many people from so many of the surrounding towns, and that was all possible because I came here. Otherwise, I would have been stuck in my same little knit community. I grew up in Abington, so one of the bigger sending towns here. But it's pretty awesome to get out there and meet a whole big group of people, and you know, you start over almost as a, you know, with a peer group, which is pretty awesome. But I left here and went straight out into the field and worked as a machinist and was out in the field for about 20 years. Not that I want to admit that, but but I came back to teach, and ultimately it's been awesome. I mean, I love coming in every day and working with the students and having that interaction with them. And, you know, sometimes dealing with what they're dealing with in their lives too can be stressful, but it's also pretty awesome when, you know, the outcomes are great. So, if you have any more questions, I'd be glad to answer anything you'd like to know. And thank you for attending today.
Thank you, Mr. Gentile. So I'm gonna take a moment and stop sharing my screen. And if you notice, you know, we're all vocational people. We don't like to sit behind a desk. I can see my faculty like this because they've been sitting down for like an hour and 15 minutes. I know I'm like, oh, I need to get out and running. But no, what Mr. Gentile just said is absolutely accurate. Kids, you will spend more time during the day with your vocational teachers than and the people in your chosen trade than your parents and your siblings. And it's funny, you would think that at lunchtime the kids would be sprinting to the cafeteria to get away from each other. All the metal fab kids sit together, all the electrical kids sit together, and that's just, it's how you're known. If someone says to me, oh, Amy, do you know so-and-so that goes to your school? I'll say, oh, what shop are they in? And that's really how you're known here. And Mr. Gentile really did touch on that. So I appreciate that. So I'm going to kick it over to Miss Berry. We got some questions in the Q&A. What do we got?
We do. Let's get started with Mr. Savatsky from Computer Information Technology. Someone had asked a great question. What are some of the professions that these students land in if they go through CIT?
Well, there's a wide variety. They could be a support specialist, desktop support. They could be a network admin. They could go into cybersecurity. A lot of students go into programming, and that could be anywhere from, a lot of kids want to go into game programming, or even say database programming. We have a person dealing with Amazon who works there right now doing some of their database work. It sort of stretches. We sort of prepare our kids to do everything, and there's so many avenues for them in our field that there's no limitations. And so that's really one of the key things for us. We want to introduce them to every possibility, and when they graduate, they can really go in to be a sports specialist right away. Or if they, with our background, I have a student right now in co-op that he's doing server work for a company and writing PowerShell scripts and doing all this great stuff. So there's many avenues, and really the sky's the limit for our field.
Excellent. Thank you, Mrs. Savatsky. The next question is kind of what happens after college if you're in the engineering program. So I'm going to have Mrs. Dow, if you can answer that, and then Mr. Gentile, if you want to add something that Ms. Dow may have missed. And the question is, what percentage of your engineering graduates go on to attend a four-year college?
Rob, you can certainly jump in here too. I would say that it's probably split 50-50, kids who go directly to work and kids who go to school. I would say, so our MET program, what you're seeing on the screen with Mr. Gentile, he's in MET 1. That is the precision machine part of the shop. There's also an electronics part of the shop. That teacher is actually presenting in another track right now, so I can't show you that. But I would say for Mr. Gentile, because there is such a high demand for machinists, I would say that most kids who land with Mr. Gentile and his MET 1 track do go directly into the trades. As far as the electronics portion of it, I would say that most kids in the electronics portion, if not the majority of them, will go to a four-year college. Rob, would you say that's pretty accurate?
Yes, I would say that's pretty accurate. It's pretty common for the electronics track to pretty much majority of them all follow into college roles. In the machine shop, I mean, it varies from year to year. I have some kids who go straight out into the field, and you know, you can make a great living in machining straight out of high school. And there's a huge demand for it. But I've also had students who have gone on to Mass Maritime. I have one who's, if I could remember the name of college he just went to, it's up in upstate New York. He went straight off into engineering school. He was very focused and understood what he wanted to do when he got out of here and jumped right into it. I always tell the students in machining, a lot of these machine shops and manufacturers are pretty big companies, and they're willing to help support employees to further their education. So if you start out in a machine shop, there's nothing wrong with saying, you know, I'm going to take some night classes to get started into engineering. And a lot of companies you go to, they are all willing to support you financially for school. So I always try to explain to my students, like, even if you don't get out there right to college, like, get to a good company, start thinking about that and pursue it. You know, I mean, use all the opportunities. That's one of the greatest perks of the job is these companies want to support you. They want to educate you. They want you to get that bottom level experience in the machine shop, you know, from cutting stock, going up and running some of their, you know, multi-million-dollar equipment, to being able to design the products that they produce and understanding the whole flow of the shop floor and understanding the manufacturing aspect as a whole, and really having a good hold on how things need to be done. So yeah, it varies all the way through, but like I said, you can make a great career just straight up in the machine shop, working right from out of high school, or like I said, move on to a further education.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Gentile. Thank you, Mrs. Dow. The next question is for Mr. Mulkern, and it's an HVAC question. So HVAC is heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration. And the question is, in HVAC, is plumbing a large part of the program?
Thanks, Ms. Berry. Actually, we're not an official plumbing shop. However, we do teach basic plumbing skills, and we find that many of our graduates end up with plumbers or becoming plumbers eventually. So I would say that, yeah, it's definitely part of our trade, and that we do introduce students to plumbing concepts.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Mulkern. The next question is over to you, Mr. Savatsky from Computer Information Technology. What colleges do kids go to? Does it help to make more money to go to college?
It depends what track you're going into, really. For us, I'm trying to think over the years what people have gone into. I have students who go right in the field and they're making very good livings. I mean, I have one of my graduates who is just finishing up this year, and she's finishing up. She's going to UNH for IT, and I think her program, when she passes some advanced certifications up there, she's probably going to be making over 100,000 out of college. She just rejected an offer somewhere she was working right now for 80K. So it depends what trade and what you feel like. I mean, some of our kids would rather just go in the field and doing support work, and they do very well. And we're talking, like I said earlier, about 50,000, 60,000 starting, because they're doing support work and they learn more and they move up the ladder, and it depends on the kid. So we do both. Our kids do go both paths, and we support either way they want to go.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Zavatsky. The next question is for Mrs. Dow, and it's an admissions question just for an interested student in the 10th grade. So do we take 10th grade students?
Yes, and to your other point, the cosmetology and allied health instructors are presenting in another track right now. They are scheduled to pop over to us at 11:30. So don't worry if you don't see Cosmo or allied, they will be they're on their way. Do we take 10th graders? We're going to talk in a non-COVID world because the rules changed this year. Under normal circumstances, yes, we do take 10th graders. There are exceptions to that. So basically, a 10th grader has to go through the admissions process just like any 8th grader. We will look at, as we look at with any student, we look at current and previous records. So for a 10th grader, we'll look at so if applying for 10th grade, we'll look at their 8th and 9th records, okay? We look at grades, attendance, discipline, teacher recommendations in an interview. Then what happens is I will score that student. I will accept or not accept that student if I have room in my building. The tricky part is, do I have room in the shop that they want? A lot of shops will fill. Every shop has a capacity, and that's based on space and safety and number of instructors. So I know that you asked specifically, Mrs. Smith, about cosmetology. Can I take a 10th grader next year into cosmetology? I don't know the answer to that yet because our students this year for freshmen are still in exploratory. So I don't know how many spots in cosmetology are going to fill. If that shop fills, I will not be able to take your son or daughter into cosmetology. If it does not fill, I potentially will be able to if they meet admissions criteria.
Thank you, Mrs. Dow. The next question I'm going to give to Mrs. Rakowski from Graphics TV State. And the question is just a general question, and it's an opinion, so sorry to throw you on the spot. But in your opinion, what makes South Shore Tech different from other schools, and why if students are wondering what to do for next year, why us?
That's a great question, and I have a bajillion answers. Let me just think of a few here. So South Shore Tech, and I'm not going to say which town, but I live in one of our sending towns, and I think what's so great about our school here at South Shore Tech is that first off, our kids have a work ethic like none other. I like I said, I live in one of our sending towns, and I see our students here, and they're not walking the movie theater street. They are trying to find out, like, what business can they create? What can they do? Can they start their own landscaping business at home? I just think their work ethic is so mature. Their decision making and coming and deciding to come to South Shore Tech is a hard one. I know, because you're leaving kids that you've gone maybe all the way to kindergarten with. And I think it takes a brave kid sometimes to make that decision for themselves about what their future is going to look like, and not just keep going the path of least resistance. And I think our, as Mr. Hoadley said about the family, and Miss Dow said when she goes into the lunchroom and HVAC is sitting here and graphics is sitting here, I think that our school, the shops that are created each year it's such an amazing group of kids, and it's such a diverse group of kids. You're going to have a kid from Cohasset, you're going to have a kid from Whitman, you're going to have a kid from sometimes out of district, maybe from Pembroke or Hull. And these kids that are coming from all different areas of the South Shore get to come together. It's not that same one town type of kid. So I think that makes our school really unique. And then the obvious answer for that, I would say, is the skill and the trade. I mean, the kids that come here are the smartest kids on the South Shore. You come here, you learn a trade. Maybe you want to go to college. Maybe you decide, as a ninth grader, you just want to do something different for a couple of years, and you do want to go to college. You're going to get a skill that you're going to use in life. You're going to become an entrepreneur and make a side business out of, or you're going to continue on in that trade and have a wonderful career. So there are so many things that make our school wonderful and different and unique. And I can't say enough. I could go on and on, but I see other questions popping up. So I hope that answers your question.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Kowalski. Ms.
Can
Dow?
I interrupt? Because you can look at me in the camera and I'm like, I want to say something. I want to say something that I tell eighth graders all the time. We may be the perfect school for you, and we may not be. And you're on this chat, you're at this open house today because you obviously have some kind of interest in our school, which is great. I want to tell you a quick little story, and I tell the eighth graders the story all the time. When about 10 years ago, I was interviewing a little girl from Abington. She's actually on my wall of fame back here. Her name was Trisha Gilpin, and if she knew I was talking about her, she would die. And I'll never forget, she's sitting in front of me and she's like, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a nurse. She goes through Exploratory, she lands in Allied Health. I'll never forget, fast forward 4 years later, and we're at the South Shore Music Circus in Cohasset, and she's in her little green graduation gown with her little decorated cap. And she goes, Ms. Dow, I never want to touch another patient again in my life. And I thought to myself, my God, she just spent 4 years in high school, learning the trade. What is she going to do? And then I thought to myself, well, at least she didn't spend $50,000 a year figuring that out. We ask these kids to choose what trades they want when they're 14 and 15 years old. And just because you do it in high school doesn't mean you have to do it forever. True story about Trisha, though. She was a little tough chick. She actually enlisted in the Army. She did 2 tours in Afghanistan, and she lived on an American military base over there, and she was a medic. So she hopped on a helicopter when someone was injured in combat and stabilized them before they could get them back. So even though she never became a nurse, which was what her dream was at 14, she used her skills that she learned here to take her in a different direction. She's a great kid. She's not a kid anymore, but I still keep in contact with her today. So Exploratory, kids choose shops for all kinds of different reasons. Half the time we hear, my dad's an electrician, my dad's a plumber, my mom's a nurse, my mom's an engineer, or whatever it is. A lot of times they'll follow in their family's footsteps, sometimes not. you know, they might choose a shop because they want to learn how to cook, or they you know, want to do hair on the side and pay their way through Bridgewater State to become a teacher. So kids choose shops for a variety of reasons. Some kids stay, and you know, we hear from graduates, I graduated in 1975 and I'm still an electrician, you know, sometimes it's, oh, I graduated from, you know, HVAC and now I'm in carpentry. So a lot of times things change. As adults listening, think about your life and how your career path has changed over the years. But whatever shop your child chooses, if they come to our school, they're going to get spectacular adults to work with them along the way. And what you're seeing right now on the screen, you know, Miss Berry and myself are support staff. You see vocational staff. I see, you know, Miss Paluzzi's in the bottom. She's director of technology. She's making sure that we all look good today. Miss McAvoy, Miss Darling, welcome. They just jumped on. So, and this is only half of our staff. We haven't even introduced any academic teachers to you yet either. So that's to come. It's 11:30. I'm actually super impressed with our timing. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen in 1 minute. And I am going to introduce Ms. McAvoy, who is our allied health instructor. She's going to spend about 5 minutes speaking about her program. All right, so give me a second to share my screen. Ms. McAvoy, I'll get you all set up. All right, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Just let me know if you're having any trouble hearing me. I'm just going to start off by talking a little bit about our industry. So again, my name is Kristen McAvoy. I am the Allied Health Instructor, and I teach students in the Exploratory and also after they're placed in our shop freshman year and sophomore year. And my partner is Miss Petrino, and she is going to teach you during your junior and senior year. We're both registered nurses. I've been a registered nurse for going on 13 years. My background is in acute facilities with oncology patients, but I have a wide variety of experience, and Ms. Petrino and I really have different experience that we can bring to the table for students. So a little bit about the industry. The healthcare industry is made up of highly trained, certified, and licensed professionals, and we work in a variety of disciplines to maintain or restore physical, mental, and emotional well-being of individuals that we serve. So we're not just focusing on the physical piece of it, we really focus on the spiritual, the emotional, psychological piece as well. So some good news for anybody interested in the healthcare field. Over the next 10 years, the job growth is expected to be 10% or greater in most healthcare industries. So that's really good news for anybody interested in going into healthcare. There is definitely going to be a spot for you, a place for you, and you're needed for sure. So some work environments that we work in healthcare, it varies depending on what discipline that you are interested in. We work in hospitals, that's primarily my background, long-term care facilities and nursing homes, rehabilitation centers, community settings, and many, many more places. And you know, there are different new technologies that are coming up that are availing us to be able to work with patients in all different types of locations, even with using resources that are online as well today. So telehealth is huge. Some other things I wanted to really touch upon is what we do in our shop. So students are eligible to take the state competency for certified nursing assistants after they complete the required hours for training. So that usually happens during the junior year. After passing the written and performance exam, students will be certified nursing assistants. So they are going to be eligible to work in healthcare industry. And during senior year is when they'll go out on co-op. So they'll be able to go out and work at a variety of different locations to care for patients. So it's really exciting. And that's really what students are proud of. And that's what we prepare everybody for. So in our shop, we offer a lot of certifications. The first is, of course, Certified Nursing Assistant, and that's through the American Red Cross. Again, home health aide is very similar to Certified Nursing Assistant, except these professionals work in the home. We offer the American Red Cross First Aid certification, the American Heart Association Basic Life Support in CPR, and this is for healthcare professionals. We also train during the sophomore year students how to take care of patients that have Alzheimer's disease. This unfortunately is a disease that we're seeing more of today, and they require a certain skill set to be able to care for these patients. So I am trained from the Alzheimer's Association, and I train our students so they're able to carefully and really skills-based, they have the ability to care for these patients. And the last certification is our OSHA 10, which you'll complete at the end of freshman year, and that's specific for safety in healthcare. So lots of different really fun certifications that we get to see. Students from Allied Health program, they are going to graduate and work in a lot of different industries. So some decide that they love being a certified nursing assistant and they continue that work, but others decide that they want to branch out and do something a little different in healthcare. So we basically will provide a foundation of knowledge and skills for anything that students want to go into in the healthcare field. We have many students who have graduated that are registered nurses, nurse practitioners, physician's assistants, physicians, also physical therapists, occupational therapists, dietitians. In our shop, we have many students that are really interested in becoming medical examiners. So we have a lot of, definitely a lot of options for students after they graduate. Students that wish to go on to the college level training would primarily, they can go really anywhere. A lot of our students go to the University of Maine, Mass College of Pharmacy. A lot of students will go to Anna Maria College, also Fishburne State University. A lot of the state schools, they have great programs and great success rates. So a little bit more about what we do during Exploratory. We focus on giving you a little snapshot into what you'll see in our shop. So I offer CPR training for just hands-on for CPR, and then you would go on when you're placed in our shop to do the full training. First aid introduction. So we do a little bit of first aid training and different scenarios. So students are able to get some hands-on experience on how to care for wounds and how to splint maybe fractures, things like that. So really fun experiences for students. And then we also talk about different professions that are available in healthcare, and we will have the opportunity to work with a lot of the tools that they use on a daily basis. Some other things that we focus on in our shop is skills. So that's huge. We'll practice our skills first in the shop, and then we're able to actually go out into the medical field in different locations to be able to practice them hands-on. So we start off going out into clinical 2 days a week, our freshman year. After you get basic safety training, starting in about February, students actually go out into the clinical field. We go to Linden Ponds. That's an assisted living and a long-term care facility where students are able to practice their communication skills and really start to build that rapport with patients and get comfortable being in the medical field. They're also able to shadow different professionals. So that's another exciting experience that they really love. The students love that experience. And then our sophomore year, we also go out into the medical field 2 days a week again. But now students are turning 16, usually during their sophomore year. So they're able to do more hands-on skills. The state of Massachusetts requires that you're 16 years old before you can actually touch a patient. So that's exciting for them. They're able to do vital signs, help with personal care for our patients. Junior year, we are really focused on our CNA training. So all the skills that are required for our CNA certification, we will practice out in the field 2 days a week again. And then senior year, students are prepared, they're certified, and they go out on co-op. So lots of exciting places that we get to go to: Brockton Hospital, Queen Anne's Nursing Home, Linden Ponds, Adult Day Health, and we're constantly expanding where we go. So it's a really exciting place to be, especially if you're interested in any realm of healthcare. And I hope to be able to welcome a lot of you to Exploratory and hopefully placement in our shop. If you have any questions, I'll be here until the end of the the participation. Thank you, and I hope that you have a good day.
For Ms. McAvoy, she already presented in track C and track B for us today. So listen, third time's a charm. Right? Track A is probably the best. Ms. McAvoy, before you leave though, can you explain the pictures on the screen? So I see Gabe in the middle in like fire garb. Where were you that day?
Yeah, good question. So I believe Hanover Fire Department. We have a good relationship with them, and we're able to go in and let students experience what paramedics and EMTs do on a daily basis. We do have a lot of students that are interested in becoming firefighters, and if they are interested in that, they actually have to, a requirement is that you get your paramedic license and also your EMT certification. So we teach students really what it's like to work on an ambulance and to be able to use all the fun tools that they use. So that was just a really fun day where we got to experience a lot of tools. We do a lot of field trips. A couple of pictures on this screen is from the Boston Science Museum. We were able to go and play with a lot of the anatomy and physiology pieces that they have there. They had a brain exhibition a couple years ago, so you see on the screen there. And then we focus on human growth and development our freshman year, where we're able to go out and just experience a field trip to daycares to kind of play with the children and have fun, but also to be able to learn about the difference in abilities from toddler all the way through preschool and kindergarten. So you see here, one of our students is reading a book to one of the daycare children. So we do a lot of stuff outside of the classroom. We go out twice a week. So that's a combination of clinical skills, but also field trips to be able to experience what healthcare really has to offer. So a lot of fun stuff.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Ms. McAvoy. If anyone has any specific questions about allied health or the programs or the clinicals or what have you, definitely type them in the Q&A, and we'll get them to Ms. McAvoy during the Q&A section for the service cluster. All right, we are going to move on to Mr. Packard, who is patiently awaiting to talk to you guys about automotive technology. Mr. Packard, take it away.
Thank you, Ms. Dow. My name is Mr. Packard. I want to thank everybody that's joining us today. If you're a lot like me, it's been tough sitting around, so I'm moving around a little bit right now. Sadly, we're doing this via Zoom. Our open house is really our mainstay, where we get everybody into the shop, and we can usually be heard throughout the school with our race engines running and various airbags exploding during open house. But a little bit about our shop and about myself. I bring along with my three other instructors, Mr. Hennessy, Mr. Afser, Mr. DeAndrea. We bring over 100 years of trade experience to this program that we want to share with our students. Right now, within this country, there is a skilled labor trade crisis. 55% of Massachusetts transportation cluster are eligible for retirement in the next 5 years. So there is tremendous opportunity for students of all trades within this country that I think this school will benefit. What our program looks like in our freshman year, especially during Exploratory, we get our students in the door, and we're going to teach them some basic life skills of how an automobile works and how they're going to be able to maintain it. Now, during the Exploratory, we can't get into every aspect of automotive, but we want to teach them some just basic life skills, because one day you will own your own vehicle and you will need to get from here to there. So changing a flat tire is one of our skills that we're going to teach you using some of the basic automotive tools that comes equipped from the manufacturer. We're going to get you involved with some of our pit crew challenge, where we're going to team up our students and we're going to have a timed competition on how to change a tire. Okay, we're going to compete for trophies. It's very exciting. It's very fast paced, and very exciting for the students. They're tired by the end of the day, that's for certain. Along with our freshman Exploratory, we also expand into our collision repair technology, our second shop, where you're going to get basic stenciling skills. You're going to learn to paint like the pros. Okay, you're going to be using some of the stencils, the paint guns, the protective equipment, and you'll be able to take home one of your own created panels, which is very exciting too. Along with our Exploratory, we're going to go through a lot of safety, because we have a lot of equipment that is fairly dangerous, but with teacher instruction, mentor from upperclassmen, the Exploratory freshmen do a great job. Over the next 3.5 years, what your career in the school would look like is you're going to start preparation for real world. Our goal in the department is we want to make sure that you're real world ready. Okay, so what's very exciting about us is we can combine many of our other trades within this school into our program: electrical, heating, HVAC, ventilation. We have engineering, metal fabrication for a lot of our projects. We have a couple of the pictures on the screen there. Young man working on some preparation of some body work. Upperclassmen working on a Firebird Trans Am. We're doing some fuel injection repairs. So there's a lot of different avenues that you're going to cover over the next 3.5 years. You're also going to be working with some of the state-of-the-art computerized diagnostic equipment. This skill, this trade is booming. Right now, today's cars are so technology advanced, it's amazing. We have upwards of 50 to 100 modules within a car that are constantly communicating with each other. Electrical theory is something we cover with our students as well as juniors and seniors. They're upperclassmen. And our overall goal, again, is we're going to work on live customers' vehicles, students' vehicles. As upperclassmen, you'll have the opportunity to work on some of your own cars. We're going to do some exciting projects. We have some 1960 Dune Buggy right now that our junior class is working on. They started as freshmen. It started as a basic chassis, basic body. They've rebuilt the motor. We have a race car Malibu that we're working on. The students built the engine from scratch, excuse me. And right now we use that as part of our exploratory to really get the students' hearts pounding, because it's definitely a rumble and you feel it right there in your chest. So some of the experiences you're going to have certification wise as an upperclassman, we want to get you on track for your OSHA 10 safety certificate, as well as upperclassmen, you're going to be taking some of the automotive industry certification tests. ASC certifications is something that we follow. You'll be able to take the test as students, and they will transfer on to your professional license as you move on. Above and beyond our program here, there is secondary, post-secondary education, such as New England Tech, Franklin Institute in Boston, Mass Bay Community College. So there's various other avenues that you can expand upon your career, and we want to help you get there. Again, our goal is we want to make sure our students are real world ready when they leave our program. Our seniors this year, we have approximately 80 to 90% of them already out on cooperative education. They're working during their, their shop week in the field at various dealerships, local garages. We are the South Shore Auto Mile, so we have a lot of dealerships and garages right out our doorstep, and our students are learning. They're learning from the experts, and they're coming back to us during their academic week to learn some more of the related theory. We're very excited to see students come in through Exploratory. We look forward to meeting many of you that we're reaching out to today, and I want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Packard. Ms. Darling, give me 30 seconds before you go on. A lot of our instructors today, vocational instructors, spoke about co-op, and I don't know if you know what co-op is, so I'll give you a 10-second overview. It's basically once you've been in your shop for 2 full years, so that is January, February of your junior year, you are eligible to get a job that is related to your trade. And it doesn't matter what trade. It could be automotive, it could be allied health, it could be MET. If you have a job in that trade, instead of coming into school on your shop weeks for 5 days, you go to work. You do a time card. That's how you get your grade. And we have 3 individuals that work here that their part of their job is to find kids jobs. So if you are ready and willing to work, we will find a job for you. All right. I am going to kick it over to Ms. Darling, who is our cosmetology instructor.
Thank you, Ms. Dow. Hi, everybody. My name is Kate Darling, and I'm a cosmetology instructor here at South Shore Tech, and I'm super excited to be here, and I'm really excited to have this opportunity to be able to tell you a little bit about our cosmetology program. So cosmetology, for those that aren't as familiar, is the study of hair, skin, and nails. It is an incredibly creative and really fun industry that appeals to all types of people, from artists to social butterflies and natural caregivers. Work in the beauty industry is an exciting and really rewarding career, and it's one of the largest and fastest growing industries in the world. Most students' first experience in our shop is during Exploratory. While we have students that come into our program knowing from the go that they want to be in Cosmo, many of our students choose this program because of their experiences in Exploratory. We do our best to expose students to as many parts of the industry as we can, as well as teach them some basic personal care skills that everyone can use. Students learn about the basic structure and composition of their hair, skin, and nails, as well as how to properly care for those things. This year, because of the COVID precautions, students are limited in partner work and they're primarily working with mannequins or on themselves. But typically, our students learn and practice with partners many fundamental services, including manicures, facials, and wash and blow dries. Our Exploratory students also learn a variety of braids. They paint nail art. They learn how to safely and properly use hot styling tools like curling irons and flat irons. And an absolute favorite for most of our Exploratory kids is the day we teach special effects. Using makeup and gelatin, students learn how to create realistic looking scars and wounds and other gory things. Not as pretty as most of the stuff that we turn out, but it's a huge hit. And it also highlights the part of our industry that works on TV and movie sets. Once students are placed in our program, that's where all the real fun begins. Over the course of their 3.5 years with us, students learn to cut, color, style, and retexturize hair of all kinds and all lengths. They learn to care and treat skin of all types and maturity. And they learn about taking care of natural nails, as well as learning about nail enhancements and artificial nails. As important as all of their technical skills, cosmetology students learn to work with people, and they engage in top-notch customer service, and we talk a lot about communication. During their junior and senior years, our students practice and perfect their training on live models in our student salon, Studio B. While we are currently closed due to COVID restrictions, we are really eager to reopen, as are our customers. Our studio is usually open to the public 4 days a week, and we are proud to have a very loyal and dedicated client base with guests of all ages and beauty preferences. From pampering spa days and rainbow highlights to permanent waves and covering grays, our students have the opportunity to experience everything from conducting a professional consultation through the entire service, all the way to the checkout counter, where they can make recommendations for at-home products, where they're learning about the salon management software that they might see in a local salon around here. And they also work with cash handling and how to check somebody out, book their next appointment, how to do credit card processing. So lots of really great hands-on, real-life salon experiences for them. I have to say that after all the years that I've had teaching, seeing the pride on my students' face when their guest leaves happy is the absolute best part of my job. And our guests do leave happy, and it's awesome. Something that sets our department apart from other programs is that we are a license-based shop. What that means is that the training our cosmetology students receive makes them eligible to sit for their state board exam and obtain a Massachusetts cosmetology license. This professional license allows our graduates to legally work in any salon or spa in Massachusetts without additional post-secondary training. Eligibility for licensure is based on 1,000 training hours, and our students begin accruing hours at the beginning of their sophomore year, and most reach their hours toward the end of their junior year. Once students are licensed, they're able to participate in SST's co-op program that Ms. Dow was just talking about. We have great relationships with many local salons, and we have students that work all over the South Shore, and some that even choose to head into the city and work in Boston. For the past 3 years, our graduating class was 100% licensed prior to graduation, and I expect that trend will continue. So before I pass you on to my next colleague or to Ms. Dow, I just want to take a quick second and tell you about the opportunities that you could have after high school if you join our cosmetology program. Once licensed with no further education or expense, you can work as a hairstylist, esthetician, nail tech, makeup artist, or even go on to become a salon owner or travel the world as a brand platform artist and educator. Like all students that come to SST, you can also choose to further your education at a post-secondary trade school or a more traditional college. The most popular training programs for cosmetology students are barbering and aesthetics, both of which allow you to apply some of your earned hours from here, and you can apply those toward the requirements for your barbering and aesthetics license, saving you both time and money as you obtain your dual licensure. For those that pursue college, you can work in a salon while you're in school and make money for tuition, books, and living expenses. Or for those that really love the beauty industry and want to pursue education, your opportunities are endless. From fashion design to cosmetic chemistry to medical aesthetics, the opportunities for success in the beauty industry are endless, and you can carry yourself as far as you choose. I just wanted to say thank you all so much for being here. And while we're disappointed to not be in-house, it's really great that we still have an opportunity to tell you a little bit about what we do. And I really hope that very soon we're going to get a chance to meet the class of 2025's future cosmetologists. Thanks.
I know that's true, Ms. Darling. 2025, imagine.
No.
Don't mess it up, guys. That's a cool graduation year. Way better than 2026. Okay, so listen. Let's stay on the straight and narrow. Ms. Darling, you have a voice like for radio. I was like, oh, mesmerized listening to you speak. So thank you so much. All right, we have one more shop to present, and Miss M, this is when I come down for tours. I'm like, all right, Miss M, we got to hurry this up. Miss M could talk a dog off a meat wagon. So 5 minutes, Miss M, that's it. That's all you have. She's been here since the beginning, patiently awaiting with her beautiful kitchen in the background. All right, floor is yours, my friend.
Hi, 8th graders and families. My name is Mrs. Montero, and I'm one of 3 awesome culinary instructors here at SST. I teach the baking and the grade 9 related part of your culinary education. And when you come through our shop during Exploratory, you're going to try a little bit of everything. It's kind of like a buffet of knowledge with a little bit of hands-on cooking, baking, and the dining room service. So you're probably wondering what a typical day is going to look like for Exploratory freshmen. Well, we treat it like part school and part job. You actually help to run a real live restaurant. The school part happens when you get the lessons in the morning, through the day, and sometimes at the end of the day. That's when you learn safety, culinary, and baking lessons of the day, maybe some soft skills like how to talk to customers or take menu orders. And sometimes we'll watch some videos to help us with our lessons. From there, we'll get our job assignments for the day. One day you might be learning on the line with Mr. McBurney and how to make salads, soups, and sandwiches. Another day you might learn how to wait and serve tables or make pizzas or work at the bakery counter selling pastries or mocktails with Mr. Doucette. Then you'll learn how to make cookies and different pastries from scratch with me in the bakery. And yes, we make sure that you get to try some of the things that you make or that you helped make with samples to taste or to take home. At the end of the day, we would wrap up our day with some reflection on what we did by typing those tasks in our Chromebooks together. The shop depends on strong teamwork, and each section does their part to help to make sure that our school restaurant runs smoothly. If you're placed in our shop, here's some of the things that you're going to learn. We rotate through the stations in the shop throughout the year. There are 3 main sections: the line, the dining room, and then the bakery with me. On the line, you're going to work with Mr. McBurney. For those cycles, you're going to learn about measurements, recipe knowledge, knife skills, sanitation, dishwashing skills, how to prepare and make salads, soups, sandwiches, and all sorts of food that we sell in the restaurant. You're going to learn how to make French fries just like they do at Five Guys, and we're even going to show you how to use that French fry cutter that they do. In the dining room, you get to work with Mr. Doucette. There, you're going to learn lots of skills like serving and clearing tables, soft skills with customers, restaurant operation, dining room setup and breakdown, how to run the bakery sales counter, how to make Neapolitan pizza, making mocktails, and specialty beverages. And in the bakery, you're with yours truly. You're going to learn how to use the bakery tools and equipment like the different standing mixers and the dough divider. You're going to learn how to make and shape bread, learn how to make cookies and pastries, and even plate decorations for all the desserts for the restaurant. Parents, the chefs feel it's real important that you need to know that all the students have the benefit of working with top-notch equipment that our school has provided our shop. And I'm guessing that in the last 5, 6, 7 years, we've spent over $100,000 on equipment and smallwares so that your child can have the most realistic work-based learning experience possible. For the career and college opportunities, the chefs have a long list of employers that want our students. In Culinary, we have a list of employers and contact information on our website, and the offers are still coming in, even in the time of COVID. Why? Because they know that our students have earned industry recognized credentials. Those are called IRCs. And such as the OSHA 10-hour health industry card, they could get the Serve Safe Manager certification and the Allergen Awareness Training certification. These credentials are part of our curriculum and they're free to the student. 8th graders, these credentials make you more valuable than the average person off the street. They prove to your employer that you're educated in safety, and every single shop in our school have those IRCs that you can earn to help you in your next step during and after high school. So when you graduate, what's your next step? Would it be a career in the workforce, or would it be to go to college? Whether you want to go to work or college when you graduate, we show you how to write a resume with a cover letter. Every student is walked through that process. When you leave Culinary after 3.5 years, you're going to walk out with lots of shop knowledge, all the skills that you've learned. You got your 3 IRCs that I've talked about. You're going to have that written resume with a cover letter and your high school diploma. If after open house you still have any admissions or school questions, don't hesitate to talk to Miss Dow. She's awesome. She's our admissions and grade 9 counselor, and she's going to help you through every single step of the process. If you have any other culinary shop questions, please go to our website and go to the culinary page and email any of the culinary instructors. I also encourage you to go to Google and look up some of the older SST open house videos from previous years. You'll actually be able to virtually see inside all of our shops, and you'll be able to see some of the interviews with teachers and students. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Ms. Dow, for all of your hard work with our freshmen, and I hope to see lots of you freshmen next year. Please stay safe and be well. Bye, everybody.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Miss M. All right. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing. So you can see, oh, look at all the lovely faces. Here we are. We're also joined by Miss Palmer, who is our math department chair. We have Mrs. Benuti, who is a parent. We are going to give them an opportunity to speak in a few minutes. But I just want to throw it over to Miss Berry right now, who is going to monitor the chat. A couple of you were asking some questions. So what do we got, Miss Berry?
Excellent. Thanks, Mrs. Dow. Our first question is for Automotive from Mr. Packard. And the question is, please tell us if you use any computer technology to repair cars in Automotive.
Thank you, Ms. Berry. That's a great question, and the answer is yes. We do use computer technology, and it's on a regular basis nowadays. Today's cars are so technically advanced with their computer systems that it's part of our curriculum day in and day out. Just recently this week, our upperclassmen are working on a modern Audi A4 Quattro, which is a normal family sedan you see nowadays, but this car is so technically advanced, it has a battery monitoring system. The customer's problem was related to the battery having an increased discharge rate. So the students had diagnosed it with our computer scan equipment, diagnosed the codes that are associated with that particular module fault. They did the tests with the charging system testing equipment to make sure that the alternator current and voltage were in the nominal ranges. And the students had finally diagnosed that the battery condition itself was in need of replacement. Now, a typical battery you can get in an auto parts store today, not every make and model vehicle is just a remove and replace option. This particular car, we actually have to communicate with the vehicle, with the module that controls the battery voltage output, to let the vehicle know we are replacing your battery. Therefore, you're going to have to change your rate of charge so the battery doesn't have an overcharge condition. upon replacement. This is very important because today's batteries, especially for this car, are not inexpensive. This battery was well over $300 to the customer. Normal battery for a Ford pickup might be about 120. So today's technology is a lot of computer-based. We have wireless scan tools, testing equipment, and we do get very hands-on with our students with the customers' cars and our own shop vehicles as well. That was a very great question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Packard. So this is why I am glad I am in admissions. I have to be honest, I have no idea what you just said, but you do and the students do, which is why we all have our own lanes. All right, Ms. Berry, I'm going to kick it back to you.
Thank you. Our next question is from Mrs. Montero in Culinary. And the question is, do you train for restaurant management in your program?
Absolutely. Just like you guys were talking about earlier, we all try to stay in our lane, and I mainly teach baking. Mr. Doucette does talk quite a bit about restaurant management, and that is usually reserved for the upperclassmen. We start off in the freshman and sophomore years, mainly teaching them how to manage a kitchen and the dining room. We have checklists that we have to go through, and each kid is rotated through the entire shop, and they'll all have an opportunity to be management, if you will, whether it be in the bakery, on the line, or in the restaurant. However, the upperclassmen do go through quite a bit of training for hospitality and restaurant management with Mr. Doucette.
Excellent. Thank you, Mrs. Montero.
Welcome.
The next question is from Mrs. Dow, our admissions counselor, and it's a little bit about when students possibly don't get into their first shop choice and possibly what the wait list is about. Specifically, they asked about Cosmo and Culinary, but I think it's a great question just to talk about our wait list in general.
Sure. So the first hurdle is kind of getting into our building. We are fortunate that we service 8 amazing towns around here. And for those of you that don't know, it's Cohasset, Scituate, Norwell, Hanover, Whitman, Hanson, Abington, and Rockland. Those are our 8 district towns. And those students have priority for admission because they are district towns. So you fill out an application. I reach out to those sending towns in mid-January. The guidance counselors there will gather me records, do a letter of recommendation for your child. I've already been setting up interviews. I know some of you on this call I have already met. I've been doing interviews Tuesday afternoon into the early evenings. So if you already filled out an application and have not had an interview, you will relatively soon. All right. And then I score you. All right. So you get, say you get accepted into my school, we do an orientation. Awesome. In September, you start the exploratory process, week on, week off. All right. You get to pick 5 shops you want to try. As someone alluded to, it's a little bit different this year, but hopefully next year we can get back to the norm. 5 shops you want to try, 2 shops I give you. And just like you earned your way into my school, you're going to earn your way into the shop that you want. How do you do that? I talked about it a little bit a little while ago. You get a grade in every shop you explore. That becomes your overall exploratory score. Are there students who do not get into the shops that they want? Yes. What happens is if a shop caps out, and I'm dead in my screen is Mr. Gentile, so I will use Met as an example. Let's say Met fills. The next student who wants Met for their first shop will go into their second shop, be placed into their second shop, but they will be the first one on the MET wait list. So if there's any kind of a fluctuation of students coming, going, we go immediately and directly to the wait list. That's what I got. Ms. Berry, you got to unmute yourself.
And I thought I did. Sorry about
I know
that.
you're the first one. You're the first one of the day. We had a bet on who it was going to be.
Me. Thank you, Mrs. Dow. Our next question is about our athletic program at South Shore Tech. And so I'll share what programs we have. And then I was wondering if Mrs. Venuti, one of our parents, could share a little bit about that. I see she has her Vikings hat on, so maybe she can give a little background to her experience with athletics, if she wouldn't mind. So we do have athletics at South Shore Tech. It looks a little different now, but in the fall, we have volleyball, soccer, football, cheerleading, and golf, and cross country. In the spring, we have baseball, softball, lacrosse, and track and field. And in our winter, which is approaching, basketball, wrestling, and hockey. So we're a very busy school. Our athletic programs is great and growing, and we have excellent extracurricular clubs too. So we're kind of we're a typical school, and there's many things to get involved in. Mrs. Benuti, could you add a little more to that for us?
I can. Thank you and welcome all. I can tell you that the staff has been working very, very hard to put this together for months. So I hope you're enjoying it. I'm enjoying listening to it as well. So my name is Erin Benuti. I have a junior currently at South Shore Voc Tech, and I have a freshman. And as Mrs. Dow alluded to, they had two different very freshman experiences. My son picked his first couple of choices and then went through some other shops. My daughter is going through all the shops. But I can say that she hasn't lost anything. So we're hopeful to get back to normal next year, and hopefully you can get to the restaurant, which I am desperately missing, going over there for lunch and doing all kinds of stuff. But if not, rest assured your child is still going to get that great experience. So when we talk about extracurricular activities at South Shore Voc Tech, there is something for everyone. It's not just sports. There is a club for your child, no matter what their interest. And I can tell you that the leadership team, especially Mr. Hickey, has made it a point that if there's something that with enough interest, he will go out and seek to see if he can get it included into South Shore Voc Tech. On the sports front, so unfortunately my daughter isn't doing anything right now because of the pandemic, but she was excited to get to the school and try different things. So hopefully in the spring, if not, then there's always next year, which we're looking forward to. My son has played golf. He is on the hockey team and lacrosse as well. So I can tell you that they are desperately missing that because we don't charge fees here at South Shore Voc Tech. It's a great way for your child to get involved and meet other kids. And the gamut runs in sports. So again, the wrestling team, the basketball team, the cross country team, golf. I mean, there is literally something for everyone if they want to do that. If not, then there's clubs. I can tell you, we just got lights on the field, which we are all super, super pumped and excited about. It's been a long time coming. So we're hopeful that if we can't in the spring, but we're hopeful to get some night games moving over there as well. So yeah, I mean, and if anybody has any questions, we have a Facebook page and we also have an email that we answer some soft questions, nothing about admissions or anything else. But if you have a question regarding sports or, you know, how they do, and again, it's like every other town. And I know your child may be thinking during this pandemic, I really want to go there, but they're not doing sports because the Mayflower League isn't doing sports right now. But that general decision, I can tell you, at first I was like, oh no. And now I'm very glad that we decided, the Mayflower League decided no fall sports because they weren't sure how the pandemic was going to go. And I know it was a complete loss to the kids and maybe the local town their friends are playing. But ultimately, my child sees that as a benefit because he is in school more. My children are in school 14 days out of 20 possible days of the month. And I am telling you right now, as a parent, that means more to me than there's next year and there's other things, right? So we're doing everything right. So yeah, absolutely. Sports is it's a big part of our culture here at SSVT, and it's a really big community. And even if your child doesn't play a sport, they're always a spectator. I can tell you, I see more kids coming and watching sports that don't play, but they're excited because a lot of their friends do. And they really like that community feel. So it's about community.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Venuti. Thank you, thank you. I do want to touch on what you said, which was a great point about this year. Our admin team has worked tirelessly to get kids in the building. So when you look at a student here, we talk about 10 days, right? 5 days shop, 5 days academics. So for this year, students who are in shop 5 out of 5 days. When they are in academics, they're in academics 2 out of the 5 days. However, what we are doing different more than better, I think, than any other school, is that when the students are at home, their teachers are teaching them. Their teachers are not teaching another cohort who happens to be in the building. So Ms. Palmer, math teacher, who I'm going to let speak in 1 minute, I promise. If you have Ms. Palmer's class from 8:30 to 9:30, then when you're at home, Ms. Palmer is in front of you on a Google Meet from 8:30 to 9:30. She's not in charge of another cohort, which my own personal children, and I know a lot of our own personal children, that's not the case. So we're doing a great job giving kids 10 out of 10 days of direct instruction, which is fantastic. Ms. Berry, you have any more questions there? You want me to kick it over to the academic people? What do you think?
We do. We have a admissions question in general that came up from a couple of students. One is, how many students do we accept as a freshman class? The second part is, how do we create the numbers of how many shops get placed in each program? Just for an idea. I think the student is planning ahead, which is good.
I love it. 170 freshmen we take, all right, from a variety of towns. And like I said, if you are a district town, you get priority. We do take students from out of district if we have room. The out of district towns that we potentially could draw from are Duxbury, Hull, Hingham, Marshfield, and Pembroke. Okay, but if you are from one of the 8 towns, again, Cohasset, Situate, Norwell, Hanover, Whitman, Hanson, Abington, Rockland, you are a good student who gets good grades and goes to school, probability is you're going to qualify for admission. You could be one of those 170. How many students do we place in each shop? It depends on the shop footprint, how large it is, and how many instructors are in there. Okay, so we do have a couple of shops that are two instructor shops. They take a couple of less kids. The 3 or 4 instructor shops take a couple of more kids.
Great, thank you, Ms. Dow. That's it for questions. There's a hockey question for a parent that I will find the information for her and get back to her. So
Yeah,
if you want to kick it over
I see that question, Ms. Berry. Sorry, I don't mean to step on you. It says, my son plays hockey for the Seahawks. Do we have to choose a team, meaning South Shore Go Tech? So I'm clearly unathletic, if you were to meet me. So I don't know the specifics of it, but I do know that under MIA rules, if you are a Situate kid and you go to South Shore, you can't play hockey for Situate. Okay, so if it's AAU and private, that's a different story, but you can't, MIAA rules restrict that. There was also a question I think I saw pop up about a music club. Yes, we do have a music club.
Yeah. And I believe the Seahawks can play on our team. I believe people that
a
have
wealth of valuable information.
I mean, and again, unless they're traveling, which no interstate hockey right now. Again, and we have a great team. And Pat, my son has promised Mr. Hickey a banner before he graduates, so hopefully hockey can get going. If not, he's got one more year.
Awesome. All right, we spoke a lot today about vocational education and what the vocational side of your child's life would look like when he or she comes here. And I do not want to let you guys go before we talk a little bit about academics, because even though the students would love if we took academics away, we cannot. We are a public school, and we are joined today by Tina Palmer, who is the head of the math department, and Matt Filano, who is the head of the science department. So I'm going to kick it off with Ms. Palmer. Ms. Palmer, do you mind just speaking briefly about the math department, what the curriculum looks like?
Sure. We start every freshman with geometry class, and then we work through the 2 algebras, Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. We found that if we kept those closer together, we weren't reteaching Algebra 1 all over again in Algebra 2. And then that's so everybody takes those 3 courses. And then in their senior year, there's some choices depending on what they took when they were freshmen and all that kind of stuff. There are honors courses in each level at honors geometry, honors algebra 1, honors algebra 2. And then there's honors pre-calculus. And our pre-calculus is pretty nifty because when you take it as a senior, if you take pre-calculus, honors pre-calculus as a senior, you can get college credit for it through Quincy College. And I don't know that we're doing it this year because everything's weird this year. But we have been doing that all along. And then kids can also take calculus depending on if they came in and already took algebra 1 as 8th graders, they can get as far as calculus. We also have financial literacy class, which is a wonderful class, doing all the math that you need to do grown-upping, which we all need. And everybody says, oh, I wish I took that. As you know, when I was growing up, I needed a financial literacy class where they learned how to use spreadsheets and they learned how to use checking and what's a good checking account. How do I do online banking? How do I just kind of figure out a budget for myself? Those kinds of things. Those are great questions that they ask. And we have that as a half-year course as well. One of the things that we've been trying to get in, and we were going to do this year, but things happened. We will hopefully be launching a statistics class too, because statistics is probably, and data science is probably one of the most important things that we can be doing in these times. Everything is data driven and we need to be more aware of all that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ms. Palmer. I think I still need to take that financial literacy class.
We got to see
all
for
right. Yeah, we all, yeah. All right, I'm going to kick it over to Mr. Filano, who is our head of the science department. Do you want to speak a little bit about science, Mr. Filano?
I would love to. So our science department has worked relatively rigorously over the years to make sure that the science that we offer at South Shore Technical does meet, of course, all the state guidelines, but we also strive to make sure that it touches on things that is happening in their shops themselves. So one of the nice things that we're able to do is customize some of the education that we offer within our science classes to go along directly with the content they're learning in their shops. So we offer usually biology and physics for the freshmen that are coming in to meet with state MCAS requirements. And after that, really depending on student interest as well as their shop choices, they can kind of customize their sciences. So they have the ability to choose whether, you know, if they're in a construction trade, whether to focus on physical sciences such as physics, engineering, advanced engineering, or if they're more towards the life science end, they can take things like chemistry, anatomy, physiology, and environmental sciences. One of the nice things that we've also worked for is to try to ensure that every student, regardless of their level of understanding, is going to get the same science experience. They'll get the same content, they'll get the same excellent quality of instruction in any one of the subjects that they choose. And we worked relatively rigorously over the years to make sure that most of our students that take their science courses don't have to ask, how is this important to me, but is reflected in the content because they can make those connections to their shop environments.
Thank you so much, Mr. Filano. Appreciate it. We do have English and we do have history departments as well. Those teachers are in other tracks speaking. But Ms. Palmer, Mr. Filano, thank you for being here and sharing the great things you do on the academic side of the house. All right, I'm going to kick it over to Miss Berry. Any more questions or what's next on the agenda?
We do have a question about special education, which I think I can answer. So I just wanted everyone to know that our admissions process is a blind admissions process. So it doesn't matter if you're on an IEP or a 504. So you apply regularly. And then if you're accepted, we ask that you share your IEP or your 504 with the school, and then we work with your sending district to set you up in the appropriate schedule with the appropriate supports that you need. So that's kind of a general question. So if you have any specific questions about specific supports, please email me at kberry@ssvotech.org, or I can reach out to this parent. But we are 33% special education. All our classes are fully included, and we do pull out support as needed. Every teacher in this building takes care of these kids amazingly and professionally, and it's unbelievable what we can do with a student in 4 years, and how great they grow, and all the things that they're capable of doing in academics and in their vocational programs. So you are in good hands, and you are with great experts, and with everyone on this panel. Kids come first at our school. That's our motto, and we stand by it, which is excellent. So thank you, Ms. Dow.
Can I say something real quick, Ms. Berry? I talked to a lot of parents who are interested in having their kid come here, and one of the overwhelming things I hear from a lot of parents is, listen, my kid has never been great at school. They struggled here, they struggled there. They can't do math. And what we find is when you place a child in the right environment with the right supports, they flourish. And for a lot of times, kids, you know, have trouble, they struggle with reading or they struggle with math, man, you put them in automotive, you put a wrench in their hand and they just have at it. And that confidence that they get for the automotive, I know Mr. Packard, that confidence that they get from being really good at something in school bleeds over to the academic side of the house all day long. All right, we've all been on our best behavior the last 10, 15 minutes or so. I don't know if you've noticed, our superintendent is here. So we're gonna let him speak and just, you wanna say a few words, Tom?
Thanks, Amy. Gee, I've had the luxury of being able to visit all of our tracks that we've been running today. I could not be more proud of the program you've put together with our colleagues here. So for the families on this call, if you have any doubt at all that our teachers care deeply about their programs, goodness, I don't know what show you've been watching, because they have done an awesome, awesome job. And this is just the beginning of the conversation. If you want, we hope you'll apply. And even if you're on the fence, you should apply anyway. We hope we've outlined for you today the system by which we accept students and all of the many offerings that we have. I recognize I might be the only thing standing between everybody and lunch, so I don't have anything profound to say other than, boy, we made the best of it today. And I am very grateful for the teachers bringing a little slice of 476 Webster Street into everyone's homes and devices today. So continue to ask questions, share our resources on social media, and tell folks who might not have been able to make this particular virtual open house today a little bit about who we are. And we'll be posting, as Ms. Dow said, we'll be posting these recordings, and we hope to continue the conversation and share more information about our school. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hickey. We have one more question about the interview process, and that is part of our application process. So I'm going to toss that to Mrs. Dow, our admissions counselor. And this is specifically about the interview process. Will it be in person or virtual? And how should students prepare for that? Or how can parents help their child prepare for that?
So we have to do interviews virtually this year. And I've set up a schedule for myself personally on Tuesdays. So I've been chipping away at the interviews. The applications are coming in feverishly, so I don't think it's going to be solely me in the near future. We're looking at potentially doing an interview day with various staff members. I will tell you that I've interviewed, and I'm not exaggerating, thousands and thousands and thousands of kids in my career, and I can tell you that we understand as adults, this is probably the first interview your 8th grader has ever had. So we are very kind, I promise. So it's 10 questions. We ask the same 10 questions to every student. And you can guess what they are. Why do you want to come to our school? Tell me about yourself, stuff like that. And, you know, I've been doing Zoom interviews, and I've talked to a lot of parents. Should my kid get dressed up? I'm like, no, they're like 3 inches on my screen. Please don't get into that battle. And it's funny, a lot of you can't believe some of the questions, the answers that kids give to questions, and I think it's hilarious. But this year I've been doing virtual interviews, and the parents have been like standing behind the kid on the computer, like yelling at them as they're interviewing me. So if you have an interview coming up, you're welcome to watch your kid, but don't shout out any answers at them. They're doing just fine. The interview process is a big chunk of the admission score, but as long as your child is engaged and enthusiastic, I'm sure they'll do absolutely fine.
Excellent. That's it for questions.
I'd like to thank, I'm overwhelmed with the amount of knowledge that we received today. I'm overwhelmed with the amazingness of the staff here. And I think if you are watching from home, you can see that the faculty, from the admin to guidance, to vocational, to academic, our main goal is to take care of your children, to educate them and to take care of them. And we do a very, very good job at that. And some of you watching found something that you fell in love with, hopefully, and will apply. I just want to share my screen really quickly, because The application process is extremely easy. So if you do want to apply to our school, you go to our website, which is southshore.tech. And you will see a little video playing. This is just a really quick screenshot, and you'll see the application button is the second one in. If you hover over the application button, there's another screen called Interested Students. Definitely check that out as well, because all of our vocational teachers made a video, all of our administrators and myself made a video about their various specialties. So Ms. Barry made a video about special education. I made a video about admissions. Mr. Mulkern made one about HVAC. So there's a lot of information on that Interested Students page. The application process is a double process. So you're going to click on apply. There's about 10 questions. You hit submit. Within half an hour, you'll get an email with a specifically to you generated username and password to log into our system. If you have any problems at all with the application process, it literally is what I do all day long. adal@ssvotech.org or admissions@ssvotech.org. Those, my email and the admissions email address are all over the admissions page. So I'm going to stop sharing now. If anybody has any last minute questions, definitely pop them in the Q&A. Vocational staff, thank you so much for your time and sharing your love of your trade with the 8th and 9th and 10th and parents of the South Shore. From the bottom of my heart, we really appreciate it. Great job, guys. Ms. Barry, any last words?
No, there's no further questions. It was a great success, and I'm so happy that everyone was here, and I hope folks at home enjoyed it. 2020, doing it virtual.
That's it. That's it. We're making accommodations. It's right up your alley, Miss Barry. All right. So Miss Barry and I will stay on in case anybody has questions. Vocational staff, academic staff, Mrs. Venuti, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
If you're still on and a parent or an 8th grader that has a question, definitely type them into the chat.
Oh, I see one from Mrs. Darling. Miss Darling is still here.
She's miraculously still here. The last one standing.
Just a quick question about what would she do in cosmetology? So I'm wondering if it's as an incoming freshman she gets placed. I know you gave a great presentation on it, but maybe some specifics about what freshmen learn freshman year.
Absolutely. So if she gets placed in our shop as a freshman, she would start off learning all about the fundamental skills that we do. So wet and thermal styling, learning about facials, learning about manicuring. Everything gets a little bit more intense as they get into their sophomore year. So sophomore year is where we start learning to cut hair, and also they learn a lot about hair color and hair color application. Typically by the end of their sophomore year, they have all of the skills necessary for them to be successful in practicing in our student salon for their junior and senior years. So we certainly continue to build upon those skills and elevate what they can do. As they get into their junior and senior years, but yeah, that's where they start. So freshman year is no chemicals and no cutting hair yet, but everything else that we do with hair, skin, and nails.
Excellent. Thank you. A private answer.
Awesome. I have a question here from Linda Dyer. I hope she's still on the call. I think what she's trying to ask is, and Linda, if this is the wrong thing, I apologize. Shoot me an email and I can clarify. But I think what you're trying to say is you've already filled out an application and you chose some shops and you want to change, your child wants to change those. So if that's what you're saying, the answer is yes, your child can still change those. So what we do is we have a freshman orientation in May, and during that time, we have parents come in with their children. We give the kids a placement test, not an admissions test, a placement test to figure out how to place them. We have them log into their Gmail, and then we have them repick their exploratories, because so many kids end up changing their mind between October when they fill out the application and when it kind of comes to fruition, like, oh, I didn't realize culinary was so cool. So yes, if your child picked exploratories and wants to change it, there is an opportunity to do so.
Then Amy, I see one more question about grades. the question is how much do grades count towards admissions, if you want to run into that? And then
Yeah,
kind of
so-
about remote learning and how it's tough this year.
Yeah, so here's the thing, 7th grade was a disaster for your kids. Last year was a mess. Okay, one day we're in school and then, oh, we're not. And teachers were trying to struggle, struggling to kind of keep up and give lessons and give content, and kids are struggling with no technology, and all of a sudden they're in school, they're not in school. So Tom Hickey and I met over the summer and we're like, well, how are we going to make this better for kids? So Tom reached out to Desi and he asked if we could count 7th grade as a little bit less and 8th grade as more, and they approved it. We're also going to alter the attendance part of our admissions policy because towns are doing things differently, and it's our goal to make sure that your child, no matter what town they come from, no matter what zip code you're in, has a fair and equitable chance to get in this building, especially for our in-district towns. So for example, and I don't know if this is true, I'm just making it up. If you live in Rockland and your mother calls you in, Rockland might excuse that, absent excused. So it's not going to count against you. If you live in Abington and your mother calls you in, well, maybe it's just absent. That's not fair. So this year we're still going to get the attendance records, but we're taking the attendance records out of the admissions process, which means we're reallocating points to other areas. So 8th grade grades are going to count more heavily than ever. So, what should your child focus on? Your child should focus on the things they can control right now, which is staying out of trouble, being a good kid, going to school, even though we're not going to look at it. Going to school ensures that they're going to get good grades. So, we're looking at attendance in different ways. And 8th grade grades, they're huge. They're the largest part of our admission score this year. And the interview, we reallocated a couple of points to the interview as well. Anything else, Katie?
Nope, just a lot of thank yous to Amy and to the vocational instructors and for open house. That's it.
Awesome. And for Linda, if that wasn't it says great, thank you. So hopefully I answered you. If I didn't, shoot me an email, okay? Monday though. All right.
All right, that's it. There's no more questions.
All right, I am going to end the meeting. Thank you so much for your time this morning into the afternoon. It was lovely to get to present our amazing school to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.